Well, it says we're live. We're going to take a look at it on my phone. Let's see what the footage looks like. Hopefully the internet's going to keep up. Did it already cut? I'm going to step away for just 1 second and look at the stream on my desktop. I'll be right back if you're watching already. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Can you see me? Perfect. All right, I got a little bit of light, too much light maybe. I'm gonna have to turn one of these lights off. Got a couple different camera angles set up. I'm gonna jump into the Discord uh, live stream. So the folks that are wanting to talk to me there, you'll have to turn down your Twitch audio because it's gonna have some problems there. I'm gonna just pull up my chat. Um, so I can look at the chat. Do, 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 do. I do have chat on the stream. I see that Lone Wolf already waving at us. Hey, Lone Wolf. Okay, let me get into the Discord and then I'll have to set up. I don't know if the Discord's the way to go. Yeah, it probably will be. Give me a sec. I'm running this on my laptop, so if it gets kind of crappy, let me know. Because I mean, it's got some compute power, but it's not like my desktop at all. Test. Yeah, okay, the audio's still working good. And Kaylin's in the general chat. And I'm not hot micing yet, so oh, I am hot micing. Hopefully the audio is the right audio. Let me check that out. Um, Voice and video. Input's gonna be a Yeti. And output is gonna be my speakers here. All right, so I'm on the Discord as well. I'm gonna step away one more time to check the stream on my desktop to make sure things are still live because I'm watching this through Streamlabs and not through Twitch on my computer there. So hang tight. Okay. All right, so I'll keep an eye on my phone. My phone's got the chat up. I can see some of the chat on the Twitch stream info through Streamlabs. I got a separate camera set up right here to show what we're going to work on. You can see this lovely set of wiring that we're going to redo, and we'll go from there. So let me give you a quick tutorial on what's going on. You can see that the control panel, and I don't need to change the camera angle right now. The control panel is a Mortal Kombat 2 control panel. You can see on player one here, there is 5 buttons, and the start and the joystick, and then there is a run button on Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 3 that was introduced. And what we're going to do, and I'm not going to show it off right now because it's out of the way from me grabbing it. It's uh, essentially a Mortal Kombat 3 control panel board and metal, like steel base. And I also have a Lexan that we're going to work on too. Hopefully, we get it all done tonight. Maybe not. And it's going to have that extra run button. But the cool thing about it is it has the Mortal Kombat 2 artwork style. So I have an artist that collaborated with the guy that made the metal panel for me, that developed the artwork that looks very similar to what we see here. And reproduction wise, the coloration is like absolutely amazing. It looks spot on to this original panel. Um, the majority of this panel has been completely like everything about this cabinet's been overhauled. I've had it done for a little while, but I went back and I added more boards to it. There's four games in this cabinet. There is, and they're all dedicated, original boards. They aren't emulated whatsoever. It's all the original hardware. I've got an MK1 Y unit, revision 4, which is the latest for that board. There is a T unit version of that game for revision 5, which I do not have, and that's a fairly uncommon revision to get your hands on because it was very late in the order the release. I have a Mortal Kombat 2 revision 3.1 T unit board with a soundboard attached to that. I did some work on that. It looks like it had some work done before I got my hands on it, of course. And then that board came with this cabinet originally. It was fairly clean. It does have an issue with the CMOS battery, the CMOS, some people call it. And that's going to be for another stream where I'm going to take that board out. I'll show you later on toward the end of the stream a workbench that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be putting together my own Gamma arcade workbench area and work on some old arcade boards here and there. And one of them is going to be the MK2. What I'm going to do is I found a way to mod the board online to where you swap out one of the volatile memory chips. So it's essentially RAM that the RAM state stays active as long as you have a 3 volt coin battery in the little coin battery slot. However, I'm having some issues where even if I swapped out the coin battery, sometimes it'll work for a couple of weeks, and then when I turn it back on, it just loses all of its memory. It looks like the board had some work done on that memory chip because there is a dip slot in there, and normally there's no dip slots on that. That chip is normally direct soldered to the board, and in that case, that tells me there's been some work done on that section of the board, and that's why it's probably having issues. So I went and I ordered a lot of these chips are hard to find. Some of them you can still get. I ordered two chips off of DigiKey, which they probably import a lot of stuff from China here and there, but they're located in I think Minnesota or maybe North Dakota, somewhere up northwest of where I'm at, and they have um, uh, two chips that I ordered from a guy from that company that this guy was telling me that I could take, and essentially this chip has a battery in the chip itself, and then you short the plus minus spot on the coin battery with just taking a piece of wire and make sure it's clean looking, but piece of wire, you protect it, of course, but then the two ends you would solder into the plus and minus on the battery slot, and then you jumper two pins on another chip, and then that's it. The other cool thing about this chip mod is not only does it hold the CMOS data in it a lot more, um, I guess, a lot longer, is you can burn data to your RAM chip, right? Because and so you can kind of stage stuff. So my plan is to eventually upgrade. I call it upgrade, but modify the board's ROM chips to support what's called Mortal Kombat 2 Plus, and Mortal Kombat 2 Plus um, is a fan-made mod that's been around for a couple years now, and they do a lot of quality of life improvements to the game, and then they add some extra stuff which you can turn off in the service menu, but essentially just fixes a lot of bugs and things like that. And so I want to support that on the board, the original dedicated board, but the developer of the mod has two hidden characters, and actually three. There's three of them, and you have to do certain things in the game to unlock them, like you'd see in a traditional console game and things like that back in the day to actually unlock it. But the problem is, if your CMOS chip has issues, or the battery has issues, and you lose that data on the volatile memory, then once you unlock the character and then you turn off the power to your board, you lose it immediately, and that sucks. So this mod will pretty much force like the batteries again within this chip, and you can write to that chip. So the guy that I've been talking to has the three characters unlocked already, and he's willing to give me that data file that I have a chip burner now, and I can burn that data to that chip that I ordered, and then stick it in, do the mod, and essentially I'd have the characters already unlocked without having to do any extra work to get them, which is nice because then if people want to play those characters, they can on this cabinet. And then we have an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on here as well. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was originally a 2.1 revision, which then I just swapped out the chips last night and got it working to Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 Plus Beta 2 from another developer that's out there that is out in Ohio area, so in the Cincinnati area, out where toward where Ben lives, and um, he's been doing development alongside the guy that created Ultimate or the Mortal Kombat 2 Plus efforts. Now, the first revision to that game, it was pretty much all Drew, and then he collaborated with this other guy, Paul, to make the Beta 2 version. And Beta 3 is in development. I donated to Drew and crew for that effort because he did help me with getting some chips that would work specifically for my Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 board. The way that Mortal Kombat 3 works is, and I know I haven't started working yet, but I'm just kind of walking through everything before we start. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 has a security chip on it, and you have to have that data that for the ROMs to match your security chip in that source code for it to actually work. So they did that back in the day. So like you wouldn't take the chips, the ROMs out of the board and let's say swap it from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 to the WWF WrestleMania game. Something like that, where you can't just like swap the ROMs and then you have a new game. You'd have to also get the security chip alongside the ROMs, and that would help you facilitate being able to play that game. Um, so that being said, Drew had to actually code put my security chip's number into his code base on the beta to actually let it work on the original dedicated hardware. And because of that, I also wanted to donate um, to him to do that. And again, it's a donation. I'm not buying it from him. It was just, he put in the effort to develop that mod. He doesn't own the license, of course, so at that point, it's not like I'm buying anything from him like that. I did buy the ROM chips at price for him to, essentially have one of his colleagues burn them for me, get labels on them, and ship them out. So I mean, and some of the eight megabyte ROM chips that are out there, they're not cheap anymore because they're getting harder to find. And so, I paid for that service too, which it wasn't extremely expensive. It was like buying a game at the store. Like, I essentially upgraded my Ultimate MK3 just like I would go out to GameStop and buy a game at the store. So it wasn't like a ton of money or anything like that. And I did, like I said, did donate to support what the development effort. And being a development manager for work in my day job, um, love to see that work continue and love to contribute there. Finally, the last game on the four-way switcher in this cabinet is not Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. And Tournament Edition, whenever I got the boards, it was Revision 3. Revision 3 and 4 did not have the Mortal Kombat 2 characters in it. Strange, right? The It was a midway game, right? And so the developers that worked on NBA Jam, some of those guys also worked on Mortal Kombat 2. Some of them were also probably in the same office space, and they were in the same publisher, space. So they snuck in a lot of hidden characters. Some of the developers have their own characters in the game, and then they also implemented like Raiden, like Scorpion, Sub Zero, folks like that, so that you can actually play them in NBA Jam, and they have like crazy stats, and it's funny because they even say the names and stuff like that. So I had to downgrade my chips from revision 3 to revision 2. So I went out and bought some blank um, MC or M27C 401 like 100 nanosecond chips and they're essentially 4 megabyte chips to burn the two revision ROMs that I needed to swap out on the board. I tested that last night, unlocked Scorpion, and played some NBA Jam with Scorpion for a little bit, and that was fun. So that works. So the UMK3 Plus and NBA Jam is where I want it to be. We're not doing anything mod wise to Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1 does have a plus version that's in development right now, but the developers, or I guess it's just Paul, I think Paul's the only one working on it, is focusing on the T unit version, the revision 5, which is not the board that I have. So unless I stumble across a revision 5 version of that game, I would never be able to play Mortal Kombat Plus for the first game, so it's just not going to happen. And then the Mortal Kombat 2 board that I've got in here, which again came with this cabinet that I brought back to life. We'll be doing the Mortal Kombat 2 plus ROM chip swap at some point, which I have them burnt already. I just don't want to swap them yet because I want to take the board out of the cabinet and do the mods for um, the CMOS battery thing that I was talking about earlier. All right, that's enough talking. No one's talking to me in chat, which is fine. I know Lin probably lurking a little bit while he's doing other stuff tonight. Um, I am in the Discord for folks that have access to the Discord. If you want to talk to me there again, you'll have to turn on the audio on the Twitch stream, and there will be a slight delay there. This is dirty. I don't know what that's from. So let's talk about the panel. Everything here is going to get gutted and removed, and we're going to be pulling this whole panel off. But the first things first, we got to get all the wiring taken off of the micro switches and then pull the micro switches off the buttons and then remove the buttons because we're going to be putting the buttons on the other panel. Um, there's our pump or sump pump for our water pump for the hot water tank. Sorry. Hopefully you don't hear it. That's pretty quiet. I just kicked off. And you can see on the camera too, down here, these yellow buttons that are taped down, I've already wired up for run buttons and I've already tested them for Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. It is spliced on the kick harness, and I won't go into detail on what a kick harness is, but I have that kick harness set up. Um, Thankfully, the way it was wired up with MK2, they supported running additional wires so that if you needed to swap out to a different game, you could. So the wiring was pretty much there. Sans one wire at the switch and the button that I had to put together, and did that. You can see over here too. I got Mortal Kombat 1 and NBA Jam Tournament Edition volume control knobs here for the volume. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 2 do all the sound manipulation through the service menu as opposed to like physical switches. So I did wire these up and I built these myself. Um, they're super simple to build out. And then I put some nice little sticker decals in here to tell you which knob does what game. So first things first, you gotta get your marker and you gotta get your painter's tape because we're gonna tape off each one of these switches so that whenever we pull everything, we know what they're for later. Um, there's two sets of wires for each one of these buttons. There's the black ground wire that's always for the bottom half of each one of these pieces. And then there is a colored wire. And these colored wires, if I busted out the Mortal Kombat 2 manual, I'm listening. That's good. Thank you, Lone Wolf. If you bust out the Mortal Kombat 2 manual, you could actually figure out like this is a blue wire, light blue wire with a green line. This is a purple wire with blue, purple wire with yellow, and that would tell you like this is high kick, this is low kick. Well, rather than busting out a manual and just pulling everything off and not reading about it and then looking at the manual later, I just take a piece of tape, write down what the button is, stick it on the switch or the wire, and then we just move on as we pull things. So we'll start with player two start. So I'll just do P2 start, and then we literally just stick it on here. And I try to like not make it too difficult to take off later, but also at the same time we don't want to just like casually stick it on there and it falls right off, and then we're screwed later. Then we have to figure out what button does what. Which again, the service menu on Mortal Kombat and other games too will help you with that if you need to figure those out. All right, so next we'll do the high punch of P2. Always want to say P2 and then HP for high punch. And we'll make sure that we get this wire. And the problem with a lot of these too are that these wires have been zip tied for cleanliness, which is great, but at the same time, it doesn't give us a whole lot of space for other stuff. And we'll do P2 LP. This process, now that I think about it, is probably going to take a while. So it's not the most thrilling, but if you have questions or you want me to talk while we're doing this, I'm all for that. Um, that process. It's just I don't know. Hopefully, like you like the setup. I've got the camera here where you see me on screen, where you can see me up here, and then you see what I'm working on down here. All right, so we need some more. I've done 3 buttons. There are 4 micro switches on the directional analog stick, um, or the directional stick. I won't say analog in that sense. Um, let's see, we'll do block. So P2 block. When I did this originally, I had to do this originally to clean up the board and get it all prepped for the Lexan that I have on there now. And it took a while. P2 LK low kick. All right. I did have to wire some new ground lines and like daisy chain off the existing setup for the 2 run buttons. And then I also had to put brand new wire in for those run buttons for the actual positive leads. So P2 HT high punch. Oh, you know what? Am I screwing up? L kick. I already did a high punch. This is a high kick. HK. I'll probably end up having black marker on me by the end of all this. And then keep in mind too with the joystick, and you probably can't see me. You can see the movement there. Whenever I hit up on the joystick on the front panel, this piece actually goes downward. So when you hit up, this is actually your up switch, even though it's at the bottom. So keep that in mind too if you're ever working on an arcade cabinet. It's opposite of the direction you're actually pressing. So P2 up, we'll say. Again, this is going to go at the bottom. I hope this tape is up in the butt to get off later. All right, we're almost done with the whole player 2 section. I also got this slick little button wrench that I bought a few months ago. I didn't have the button wrench when I first worked on the cabinet. I bought one. It was fairly cheap. So we're going to try that out today too. So P2 down and P2 left. And I'll get a new piece of tape here in just a second. Lone Wolf, are you playing? You still playing? I saw you were playing the finals. Are you still playing the finals right now? Are you in the finals right now? So this is left, which is our right side here. And the switches on the buttons um, pop out without any screws or anything like that. Oh, you're not playing right now. Did you win on the finals? Did you win, son? It's funny, like you know that meme. Are you winning, son? I swear I do that not on purpose, but I do that with Cooper whenever he's like talking about a game or something he's doing. It is literally like no shit, a real dad thing. Oh, that's right. Get you right. You won once. You said you liked the game, which is cool. I didn't like my experience, but then I told you that I would like to play it with you at some point. Yeah, this is a haphazard jerry rig setup that I don't like. When I did that piece, could have done better. I would say since this is my only cabinet that I own, I spent a lot of time making sure it looks like immaculate, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a professional, but to make it look really good. Another thing too on the cabinet you can't see is the front like bezel glass and the bezel move list. I have a move list on here. We're gonna move to player 1 now. For Mortal Kombat 2, I recently just bought a bezel move list for more Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 Plus. Yes, there is a move list 4 Plus, which is cool because some of the things in Mortal Kombat 3 Plus that were not in the original arcade but were in the consoles was a character called Rain, if you're familiar with Rain. Um, and so that was added back into the game, which is pretty good. Well, I say added into the game for the arcade version. Something cool that Drew did, and some other stuff too that's really awesome. P1 right, so that's over here. Try to move this way and work my way around. And then watching you guys play Helldivers the other day, it looked pretty fun. Hey Google, what time is it? 8:16 p.m. 8:16. P1. We did right. We gotta do left. P1 up. Double checking my work before I stick tape on this stuff. How's Cooper doing? Cooper's upstairs right now, getting a bath with his mama. His mama's helping him get his bath. He didn't want to take a bath tonight, but she said it's time for bath time. It's been more than we prefer, so it's only been like what 2 days. Well, this is the second day, so it's definitely bath time for that little boy. We're gonna do high kick. So he's doing well. Not super sick. He made it through the week of school without any issues, which is great. Um, last week, oops, that's interesting. Last week, was it last week? Yeah, last week he was. Lisa was out of town for a whole, pretty much the whole week for a conference that she runs in the southern part of the state for a job, and thankfully my mother was able to come out and help because Cooper was sent home on Monday with bellyache, diarrhea issues, and so he had issues like that for 2 days, well, 2.5 days, and then and the school doesn't want you taking your kid back to school if they having diarrhea for like at least probably 12 to 24 hours. So I kept him home the whole week because it didn't end until uh, pretty much Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Which Thursday for him he only goes to school 4 days a week. Pre-K only goes from Monday to Thursday. So we're gonna do P1 block and P1 high punch. So we're getting up in the morning tomorrow to go to one of my Star Wars buddies' house. It was in Philippi, West Virginia. It's a small town. Most of West Virginia is small town stuff. But it's a smaller area than where we're at. But he's got a house that they just moved into a few, I think it was like last year, or year before, and he's hosting what we call in the old 501st. We call it an armor party, where we all get together. We just hang out and work on costume stuff. I'm not working on anything for me. I don't like working on stuff for me at armor parties, to be honest. I like to work on other people's stuff and help them out because right now I'm not working on anything. I'm working on an arcade cabinet, and I'm not hauling that over there to work on it. So low punch. So we're doing that, and Cooper gets to go over there, which will be fun. To bring some basketballs and stuff, and he'll be able to play a little bit. This is player one low punch. As you can see, we are all done with everything except for this right here. We need to have a P1 down, and we're good to go. So he put this on. This is the first one for the year. I have a handful of folks coming from the state. I actually took over CO or commanding officer for the state of West Virginia, um, just like a couple weeks ago, actually. So I'm the head honcho at the moment. I think there's about 50 members, 55 members that we have right now. And so it is sizable. Participation kind of varies there, but it's all good. So, all right, next step is we've got everything wired or marked. How old is he now? 4? Cooper will be 4 in July. July 31st is his birthday, and he will be 4 years old. And yeah, he's able to go to pre-K early. He's in early pre-K right now because of he was in a program called Birth to Three. I think you know about that, but anybody else that's watching, Birth to Three is a West Virginia state program that helps kids that have any identified issues, whether it's physical or mental or learning or anything like that. Um, Free evaluations to see how they're doing and they're performing. And if they're identified as, performing low in a specific area, they offer services. So he eventually identified with a speech delay and some just, I wouldn't say cognitive issues. It was more so just the speech delay, but we also had a generic like um, specialist that was not a speech pathologist, speech therapist, and it definitely helped, and it was free. Didn't cost us anything. It doesn't co- and it's not based on income. So if you are rich, poor, doesn't matter. If you're in the state and your child needs help, the state will evaluate the child, and if they are eligible, then they will get those services, which is awesome. Um, Focusing back on the arcade cabinet for a second, I see I just took the switch. This is the nicer quality switches. This is like Doc Mac from Galloping Ghost Arcade out in Illinois, around the Chicagoland area. He's in, I think, Brookfield, Illinois. That sounds right. I don't know. He recommended these DX or D44X micro switches as close as you can replicate to the original switches from the 90s. So that's the ones I picked up. And they are really nice. Again, micro switches in the same concept of like your computer keyboard, that kind of thing. All right, so the first button's off. This is the player two start. And there's just a little kind of leaf bezel that rotates on these guys that allows you to loosen things up. And you just kind of grab from that spot and you rotate it and it comes right out. And so I got to get my hand down in here. And this one is pretty toolless for the most part. You just pull it up and lift it out. When we get to the joystick, we're going to have to break out some tools, but we're not going to do that till the last part. And then once you get the rhythm down for all of this, it's pretty easy to do. It um, just takes some time to get them all out without breaking the plastics. You don't want to bend or push on the plastics too much because if you break the plastics, then you need a whole brand new button. And I have backup buttons, but they're the original buttons that were on this cabinet, and they've seen a lot of gameplay, so I would not want to swap them out if I don't have to. Another thing that we're going to have to do with this setup is you see these metal brackets here. You can see them on the camera. Yeah, these are brackets that hold the game. So this is the other half of the bracket that holds the game control panel down. So if you were at an arcade, kids couldn't open it up and like fish around in there and steal money or whatever else or mess with the control panel. Um, these will have to get mounted to the new piece of wood that I've got with the new button schema layout. And then there's holes down here that I also know I think that are already drilled in, which are great. But the other problem is up here there is this little beveled lip that's got a push pad that sits up along the screen up here, and that piece doesn't have screws on the new piece of wood, so that's going to be a little bit of drilling action that we're going to have to do. As you can see, I got the buttons already set off on this side, so I'm just going to keep rolling here. You can see I'm not taking the micro switch um, the leads off the micro switch. I'm leaving them on. There's no need for that unless you're taking out the micro switch itself and replacing with a new one, especially on the buttons. Now, when we get to the controller, the joystick, we will have to pull these off because actually, do we have to pull these off? No, we don't. We leave this base on there. We just got to be careful. There's a little C clamp that holds uh, the joystick together, and we'll have to remove that and just be very careful that we don't lose that little piece of C clamp metal. If it falls down in the cabinet, I'll have to go in the back and fish for it. So, this upgrade was kind of pricey to get the new control panel because again, I'm buying a piece of wood that's CNC'd, like it's machined to fit the exact specifications of this control panel, just like it would be in Mortal Kombat 3. Granted, it was $60. That's not a lot of money, but again, it's just laminated. In this case, it's laminated, which is nice. It's laminated hardwood. Um, I think he used birch for it, so it'll hold up quite well. And then the metal panel was like another $60 overlays on that, and then the Lexan was like $40. So it gets expensive. Um, but then and I'll be able to support that run button without issue. All right, so now that I've got all the buttons loose, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the buttons out. So to do that, you can just use your hands, and they might be like, yeah, they're pretty tight. So I've got this. I'll show you on the little camera here. This thing, and I'll show you on the big camera too, is the little it says made in Spain, because I think the buttons are too. Uh, IL, it's an acronym for some Spanish word I don't know, which is the company that makes these buttons. They make this little tool which you can use to literally just if you untwist this plastic nut and get them back onto place. You can use, I mean, this is some people say it's overkill to do. I like them. I like this tool because one, you can just use it with your hand and hand tighten everything and hand loosen everything. Some people will get crazy and I say crazy. They'll use pliers to tighten this down. If you want to go a little over more than hand tight. And the problem with that is pliers can crack this plastic super easily if you're not careful. Now, if you're a professional, you've been doing it for 20, 30 years or whatever, and that was your tool of trade, there's definitely a feel for it. I can guarantee you that because I almost broke one of these buttons as a newbie. And again, this little tool cost me like $4. It's a piece of plastic pretty much, but it's just designed specifically to fit um, these buttons. And it works extremely well. All right. Is the chat working? There it is. Cool. I literally put together this little layout on Streamlabs super fast. Got the other camera hooked up on a tripod to do this, and just try to try to get all this working super fast for them tonight because I wanted to be able to do this. And last night I was talking to Lisa about like, hey, can I stream on Friday? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. Sure, you can do that. And I thought, well, I didn't think through the logistics at all. I was gonna like I'll just use my cell phone camera. Like it's on your cell phone, if you have if you're signed into your Twitch account, you can just kind of go live like I did before, and it's just your handheld camera that you're just kind of walking around and doing stuff. I was gonna mount to a tripod my phone and just stream like that, but I knew that the audio probably would have sucked. Right now, hopefully my audio sounds pretty good with the Yeti mic that I usually use whenever I stream on PlayStation, and I also have multiple cameras for you all instead of just one camera, which again, one camera is probably a little more boring. In this case, you can actually see my face and see what I'm doing at the same time with multiple camera angles, as opposed to just chances are if I did my phone, you'd only see what I'm working on and that's it. So just a couple more buttons. I forgot to start up here. Let's do that one. So on Mortal Kombat, uh, 1, 2, and 3, and Ultimate 3, and probably 4 as well. The color scheme is red, white, and blue, which is cool. Start buttons are white. The block button is white. All the high punch buttons are red, and low kick, high kick buttons are blue. And it goes in that order: red, white, blue. If you ever see buttons on a cabinet, especially a dedicated Mortal Kombat 2, which is what this is, it's not like a cabinet that you just see a Mortal Kombat board dropped into. Um, if the color scheme does not match that, then it's not factory style layout, but it's not going to really impact the gameplay. But pick and choose your favorite color buttons. Some people like, and my goal with this build, at least visually on the outside, was to mimic the original production look and feel as much as possible. Same down to the joysticks, the red joysticks with the black dust washers. Normally, when you buy these red joysticks, they come with red dust washers. So I ended up going out and buying black ones so that I can fully recreate what they were doing there. All right, so I got all the buttons off. I'm gonna drop the panel and show you what it looks like for a second. It's nice and empty. But we've got a couple things that we have to do still to get this panel off. We still need to get the joystick off, and to do that without pulling all this stuff apart, there is a little C clamp piece on this metal center core of the joystick. I'm going to go ahead and get some pliers, which I already have right here, and I'm going to pull that C-clamp off, a little C-clip, and then once that comes off, I will be able to remove the core of the joystick. I wonder if I should really do that right now. Um, I'm going to have to, because I'm going to have to swap the whole thing out anyway. So it's a kind of a pain in the butt to get this thing off, and you probably can't see very well because my head's in the way. Oh shit! And this thing is like holding on a piece of plastic essentially that helps hit the other micro switches. And when I put this together and I put this on, I did this here. It's coming off. I did this with the control panel not attached and upright like this. There we go. I got it. And I don't want to lose this thing. If I lose this thing, then I can't get the joystick back on, and that would be horrible. So now that this is loose, I can pull out the joystick, and this can stay right there. You can see I've got the head of the joystick, and everything looks clean. There's no real dust on here. It doesn't need to be cleaned up at all because it's pretty brand new, and we haven't played on the arcade cabinet a whole lot. Just a couple nights where after Cooper goes to bed, I'll play. Cooper's played the Mortal Kombat 2s. He has. My mom was reluctant. She said, "Don't do that." My mom also told me when I was a kid that I wasn't allowed to play Mortal Kombat or Mortal Kombat 2, and that's why I like Mortal Kombat 2 so much, which is funny because my uncle, who's since passed away, that I was very close to, got me exposed to playing Mortal Kombat 2 for the first time on Sega Genesis. And I'll never forget that day. As my mom wasn't home and he brought it over. He's like, "You want to play this?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, I do." As a kid, I was probably like, I don't know, whenever Mortal Kombat came out, I was young. I was probably like, not even Cooper's age. I was older than Cooper. I think I was probably like 6 years old or so, maybe 7. But my mom still didn't want me playing it. Because there was too much blood. It's too realistic. Nowadays, you should see what the current Mortal Kombat's like versus the old one. It's insane. Way worse. Alright, so this one's a little bit more of a pain in the butt to get off. I'm having some trouble here. It's coming. Here we go. There we go. And it's a little piece of metal. That's all it is that holds that whole stick on there. So watch, I'll be able to pull this bit out. Here it is. The dust washer is now free. I was going to leave. Oh shoot! There's an extra piece in there that we have to get out. So I will have to take off the metal panel for this bad boy. That sucks. Oh man, that's a pain in the butt. Well, there's a little piece of plastic in here that holds this joystick piece together. And I'm gonna have to take that out. All right, so we're getting there. This panel's about to come off pretty soon. I'm gonna get a screwdriver now. And next we're going to remove this security latch. You can see on the screen here, uh, this little thing that holds it from breaking. What are you saying here? Bad influence. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You're right. I actually need to get a longer screwdriver. This short one's not gonna work. And so my mom said to me, if you're gonna have him play that game, you better turn off the blood. And it's funny because it's an arcade game, and you can turn off the blood in the service menu if you want. I don't. I didn't turn it off. I let him see it. I just jokingly tell him that oh, they have ketchup packets in their pockets. Look at all this ketchup. And I don't know. I think he buys it for now. So there are four screws here. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this one off without pulling this. I think I might. I'm just going to be careful that I don't damage this cord. It is very close to being damaged based on the position. Come on. There we go. There's another one out. Work on the bottom here. And you can see there's some wiring kind of controls at the bottom of this thing. It's just to help feed the wire at the bottom of the control panel. They're all throughout the arcade cabinet. And these are the two original ones that were back here that I don't think they're even being used at the time. I'm going to leave them on this old board. And then I don't plan on putting it on the new one. So you can see that we're pulling the last screw out of this guy here. Let me put this in my pocket. And then as I pull this out, this will come free. So that can sit down there. I don't have to unplug any of that stuff, which is great. Oh, and you know what? Look at that. I have extra dust washers, black, and I just was able to pull this off. You can see it's a white thing. I'll pull up on the camera here. It's a white thing. This white, essentially, kind of O-ring. It's getting a little dirty. Slides onto the joystick to add a little bit of space between the wood panel and kind of how it rocks. If not, it would kind of go extend a little bit too far or sink down too far into the control panel, and it would just wear a lot faster. Um, you can, by all means, you can interact with it without that spacer, but that spacer helps the longevity of the joystick. I should pull. I don't know if I should do it right now. It's not that entertaining, but I do have the original joystick, player one and player two, that was on this cabinet. I kept it, and player one's joystick was so freaking raw, like down to you can see there's like rings on it from where it was just rubbing against the control panel for just years and years. That game came out. Mortal Kombat 2 came out in October of '93, so it was. Um, if those were the original joysticks, which I would be surprised if they weren't, um, they were they, they were in a very interesting condition. Let's just say that. I don't like how much pressure is being put on the some of these buttons, which is not not my favorite right now. All right, one more screw for this joystick, and then this will fall free, and then we'll be able to grab out our um, spacer. There we go. Put this in my pocket. I found that like I don't know, getting my hands, I wouldn't say dirty, but getting my hands on something like building a costume or working on this arcade cabinet has helped my mental health quite a bit with my colitis. You know, whenever you're not feeling great, anything you can do to help with your mental health really helps just your health in general, which is awesome. The stuff like this really is kind of a godsend for me to keep me feeling pretty good. So anyway, there's a couple things we'll need to do next. So this piece I'm not going to pull off yet. This chain again. This chain helps keep this from causing this frame piece bracket to break or the wood to crack. Next, we're going to start loosening the wood and then pull this off. But before we do that, all the way over here, I don't know if you can see this on the camera. There is a green and yellow striped wire. This is the ground wire that we have for. This should fit. I hope. I gotta get a different bolt. Ace. I'll go do that. Um, everything on the midway cabinet. This is a midway game. Um, They ground everything that has metal. If you remember back in the day, all the arcade games had a. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna step away and grab my tools. This should be everything I need. Um, Midway games and all other arcade games had CRT monitors, and those CRT monitors packed a punch. They had full 120-volt power going to it. There was no uh, DC switchover on the power. I'm gonna crouch down. I don't know if you can see me anymore on the camera. I gotta grab my tools out of here. And what do I need? I need this guy. Let's see if this fits. It doesn't fit. So what do I need? What did I do before? Uh, Gotta figure it out. What did I do before? It's too small. Um, and so with those really powerful AC powered television sets that were in a lot of these arcade games, if you didn't ground them properly and you touched something metal in the cabinet, you could shock the shit out of yourself, and it would be bad news. And so they grounded everything for precaution. Midway did anyway. I'm not sure all the other manufacturers did that. Man, I am lucking out on finding the right freaking ratchet piece for this thing. I don't know if it's a. I have metric, and I also have the USA boys. I think I'm looking for metric. Some of the stuff's a metric, some of it's not. That's too big. It seems like that's right. All right. Let me grab my other ratchet. There we go. And once we pull this board off of the cabinet, I'll move the camera over to the workbench while we work over there. I don't know if I can move the computer monitor. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. And everything, because I have everything on that on a stool right now. So I might just move the webcam and check where my placement is and then continue to talk from there. So right now I'm removing the little nut that supports the ground line. I don't actually need to have as much grounded as I do right now because I have taken out the CRT in support of a LCD flat screen. And I have a special board that's inside the cabinet that I've added to help support taking a CGA and format to a VGA format for the board. So it converts all that for me. So now I'm pulling out these little special nuts. I'll show you. This is interesting because on this side of the nut, it's just your traditional nut. This is a five, or sorry, this is an eight, size eight nut. But then you have these little spikes. Oh, dropping it. That kind of bite into the wood or panel that you're screwing it down into, the metal, to help it from not getting loose over time. I went and bought some extra ones. It's designed to fit this cabinet, so I can use the originals. These are originals, or I can use the repros that I have. Repros, I say that with loose word. It's just a freaking nut. You want to use a nut from the '90s, or do you want to use a nut that I recently? It's just a piece of metal to hold another piece of metal on. So I'm taking these out, and as you can see, I'm using my belly to. Well, you can't see it too well, but maybe on this lower camera, I'm using my belly to prop up the board a little bit, because as I remove this last bolt, a nut rather, from the bolt. This will be officially loose, and I got to be careful that I don't break this little chain, which this chain is now going to come off next. And I need to use a different tool for that one. That's going to be this guy. So definitely a hobby that, starting out with this hobby, I had a lot of tools already that I, worked on the house with. So a lot of the stuff that you already have, you don't need anything extra, at least with working on the cabinet. Now, when you start working on the electronics, especially old television tubes, you need a lot of extra stuff. So watch, ta-da, this panel is now off, and we've got these metal spots that we see on the board, the little PIM screws. They're bolted into the metal frame of the original artwork, which I'm not going to take any of the layers off of this. We do have to take this black lip off right here of this panel, and then we also need to take the bolts um, pieces off for the metal here, so we can use these bracket mounts too. So that being said, I'm gonna get this laying on the workbench, and then I'm gonna move this over the camera over to that location. I am on a USB extended cable, so we should be able to move that over without a problem. So give me 1 second while I move it. Here's Raiden. You can see Raiden on the side work. I did not change the side art on this guy. I kept it, and you might have watched a previous stream of me talking about this. I did not change. I cleaned up the side art. I did not want to replace it. There is some damage on the side art, but it adds character. To me, I think it adds character. All right. I'm going to take a look at how we have things set up here on the camera. And I might just try to scoot the other camera over a little bit too. It's not too bad. I'm going to scoot it back just a little bit. See what that looks like. That looks really good. Okay, so as you can see on the left side over here where that monitor is propped up, this is all new. I got one to my right as well. That left side, this is going to be where I have this monitor that was given to me by the neighbor. He gave me this. I bought a separate little speaker. You can see a power supply that was originally in the arcade cabinet. I've replaced the one that's in there now with a new one. This one I'm going to use for a test bench. We're going to have a cool test bench. I'm going to mount this monitor to the wall, and it's going to be pretty slick whenever I'm done with it. We'll be working on boards over there. All right, so let me see if I can turn off this light and scoot some stuff around. So this is phase 2, so to speak. Oh man, am I gonna have a problem here? I might have a problem here. Let's do this. I'm gonna unplug my phone. I think you're just gonna have to watch me work. I have to do something. This is gonna be dumb if I don't. So give me 1 second. I'll have this kind of peek around the corner a little bit. Turn this light off. Mississippi 2, Mississippi should kick off. There it goes. And I don't have the microphone moved. I will move the microphone in just a second as well. So this will be me working over here a little bit in the corner. Hopefully you can see me. Let's see where I'm looking at here. Yeah, you can see me. That's cool. All right. And then let me move the microphone. Oh, I'm losing buttons. Okay. Bring the microphone around. I'll set it right here. Pick up my buttons that I dropped. I'll grab my tools. All right. So let's take a look at how we're doing. Looks good. All right. All right, so next I'm going to take these side panel pieces off that we were talking about, this guy and the one on the other side. We were using the ratchet here to get down in there, just kind of start it. I'm just going to get it to loosen, and then once it's loosened, I will just hand loosen it all the way because it's going to be too difficult to just constantly use this ratchet in a tight spot. I think I had an extender on this when I did this originally. So these little piece of I'm glad this is working. I had the audio ported over, and that I'm so glad that worked. How you doing? Hey Ben, how you doing? So these metal brackets right here, this came with a lot of arcade cabinets back in the day, and it is they're hard to find. So I didn't buy any extra ones. I'm just going to use the ones on the original board, and I'm going to set this control panel aside and hang on to it. Because you never know if you need to swap it back one day if I ever sell the Ultimate MK board or what have you, or if like if anybody eventually gets this board from me or this cabinet from me and I want to sell it, if they want the original panel to make it more original, then we will have that. Okay, now that we've removed that, there's some bolts up here that we're going to have to remove, and it's interesting how that's recessed. Did they recess that too over here? They didn't. That's interesting. It's not a big deal. So again, I have a repro panel that we're going to be replacing this guy with. These screw holes are not on the other panel. Let me take a look at chat. I see folks chatting right now. I don't actually hear it on stream. Hear what? What do you not? Oh, you don't hear the audio? The audio of like "Welcome to the Arcade." I heard it. I'm surprised you didn't hear it. Oh, I know why you probably didn't hear it. I don't probably have my audio fed from my desktop audio right now, so you didn't hear the sub music. Hold on. Let me take a look. Properties. Device. Let's change this to this. And then global settings. How about now? I don't know. You have to trigger audio in some way. I don't know. I can test it later. All right, so this panel comes right off. This is a piece of metal that I actually needed to clean up. Never cleaned it up because I never took it off. It's a little dusty. And then you can see on the inside there's a little kind of a rubber lip that helps uh, things rest. All right, so we'll put that on the ground. This is the original panel. You can see that I could probably, right now, with everything loose the way it is, I can pull off the metal from the wood. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and take the screws. Oh shoot! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to use these ones. Okay, just looking at the audio here. Um, I'm going to grab these. And the bolts and the nuts are still on the upper part. We're just going to put these other four back down on here. And that's just going to hold the control panel on from the bottom. And we'll just leave the other four loose. And because we're going to need those same style screws. Now, the guy that sells the metal panel that I bought from, normally he sells the screws, or sorry, the little nuts. He doesn't sell them. He includes the nuts with the panel. He did not include them in my order, and he was going to snail mail them to me. Whether he forgot, because I talked to him about it, whether he forgot or he didn't, I don't know. Um, Actually, I can put one of these down over here in the corner. Um, I told him not to worry about tracking, just send him whenever he could. But at the same time, I went out to another arcade shop online and ordered them just in case he forgot, which Thankfully, I got them in the mail today so I can actually do this work. So here is my number eights replacements that I'm going to use. These are the new bag. I've got a few of the four that we're going to use for the bracket system. So here's the Lexan with the button placement already ready to go. So it actually goes on like this. I'm going to peel this off. That's plastic that's still on there from when it was cut. Here is the reproduction board. This is, again, actually, it's way more lighter than the other one. Hold on. Oh, it's because I have the metal on that one still. That's why. So here's the repro. It's got the holes drilled for me already. All the recesses what we need for the buttons and the joysticks. He puts these screw holes in. Um, these what the heck are these called? I can't think of them right now. That lets you run screws through them to hold the joystick in place. And you can see here, this is upside down right now. This is the right way it goes. The new run buttons right here. And again, these placements of these buttons will perfectly line up with the other panel that I got. This was from a vendor out in Pennsylvania. He does wood CNC, builds cabinets. Again, this is birch with that's laminated. And then we have our reproduction metal here. We'll show you that. It's quite heavy because it's steel. Here's our new button hole for run. So it looks very similar to the other panel. And the artwork is absolutely great. Here's the back, all metal, and it has all the PIM bolts already ready to roll. So I just drop them in just like we would with the other cabinet. You would just line these up. So before we start putting this piece down on the wood, we actually have to get some more things prepped. So if you remember when I was talking earlier, I have to get the dust washers in place. So thankfully, I planned ahead months ago by accident, and I bought four dust washers uh, just in case I need to replace them at any point. So I'm gonna leave the original or the dust washers that I had that I bought from before on the old panel. No need to take that whole thing apart just to get the dust washers because I do have two extras. Again, uh, for Mortal Kombat, the dust washers were black and the joysticks were red, so there's some little uniqueness there. Hey, what's going on? Um, So with those sitting in place right there on the panel, then I'm ready to drop the steel panel on top of the wood, and these should line up pretty well. I'm gonna have to probably wiggle it around because there's a little bit of bowing to this metal, but once I strap this down with the bolts and the nuts, it'll be completely fine. So there's the extra run button on the artwork for MK2, and we will just line this up, and I will drop that in so it go into the right spot. We just gotta make sure that the dust washer doesn't fall out of that little nook while it's in there. And then we'll flip this around. I know this camera angle is probably not the best right now. It was better whenever I was over by the arcade cabinet, which I'll get back over there here in a little bit. I'm gonna probably have to hammer this down a little bit. And again, these are from two separate vendors, right? So the fact that they both have the exact measurements of what we need here to make this thing happen is great. Actually, I might have to just clamp these down. So we'll use a clamp here, and I'll just squeeze down the metal as we go. And that'll help get this thing flush as we put bolts down in it. There's one side. And I've got three of these. So we can at least get two sides flush, and then we can start putting bolts in. And we might have to just drill bigger holes. I mean, it's possible that these holes aren't big enough to get this thing to clamp down all the way, which it's not looking like it's going to. If we get into a situation where I've got to do that, we might have to adjust the stream a little bit. All right. So what I'm gonna do is take a mallet, snap that in there. All right. Yeah, and the problem here is the metal's a little bowed. Um, Which again, once we get these flush and get the bolts on, you will never be able to tell. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these and start this down. I know you can't see very well what I'm doing, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit while I keep the pressure down on these things. You can see that the wood is coming up off of this a little bit. So let me flip this around. We're going to tap the bottom of it's the top corner of this panel. Actually, this sucks. I'm going to do it like this. Oh, so there goes the dishwasher, the washer, the joystick washer here, dust washer. But make sure we don't lose those, which we just did one. And that's the beauty of the repro, right? So it's not perfect. Oh, this sucks because I have to pull this apart to get that back one in there. Oh, that sucks so bad. All right. Now we'll bust out the metal hammer. So I can tap this back out. That should be just enough that we need, I hope. There we go. Oh, it's backwards. Let's send it back through. Yeah, once we get this down and fastened, then it's all going to be pretty quick. Pretty quick to move. Oh, this metal doesn't have holes in it. Oh, I bet you it does, but oh no. It's funny because as I'm working on this, I'm learning little things like everybody knows how to you put your socks on before you put your shoes on, right? Well, with an arcade cabinet, it's just like getting dressed. If you do things out of order, sometimes you can get away with it, other times you can't. Yeah, so I gotta put holes through this really quick. So let me get something sharp and pointy. I need something small, sharp and pointy. I got a small flathead or square here. So the reason why I didn't want to, the artwork looks great here, but there are holes that are somewhere here for the artwork to put the Lexan bolts into the wood. And I got to get those marked because if I put the wood down, I'll never find those Lexan holes. And then we're extra screwed. Some arcades never put down the Lexan panels, um, but over time the artwork gets damaged, and if you damage the artwork, it'll fade. You know, your hand or your palm is resting on it for long enough. It just doesn't look as good. So there's four on top. I believe there's what's on this other panel? Oh, interesting. Should there be? There is one right there. Perfect. Four on top. There's one on each side. Again, this is a vinyl material, pretty heavy duty. So kind of these marked here. And I've got extra. I bought new old stock security screws for this panel, and I bought them on eBay. I only needed like 8 at the time, right? And I was like, oh, 8, that's all I need. I'll find 8, and I'll be done. Well, hey, the only guy I could find that had the actual original uh, crap uh, things that I needed. He sold them. He sold them in bulk, and I had to buy 100 screws. And I'm thinking I'll never need 100 screws. Well, it's good that I have more than 8 because I need more than 8 now, but I definitely don't think I'll ever need 100. Um, all right, so we have the top done. We got to do the bottom still. Again, all I'm doing is poking holes in the vinyl so I can find the security screw holes later on the metal. Because you can't just kind of eyeball and guess where the holes are in the metal because you'll never find them. It's too, it looks too darn close to everything else. There we go. All right. So just the bottom now, and then we can go back to where we were. We'll drop in our dust washers, and then we'll try to lock this whole thing down. There's a little gap here for that's been CNC'd as well. Ow, ow, ow. Oh, fudger, man. It's got a splinter. That's awesome. So you get to run your finger through a piece of wood hole. Well, I might run away for just a second to pull this out with some tweezers. I'll be right back. So you guys can talk amongst yourselves for just a minute. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Get some tweezers and pull this splinter out. Be right back. Nice. All right, we're good to go now. Glad everyone wasn't making fun of me while I was gone. Maybe you were. Anyway, okay. Uh, I'm bleeding a little bit, but that's all good. Yeah. Find these last. Well, anyway, the whole idea what I was talking about with this slit, it was there on purpose because there is T molding that goes along that control panel gap, and the T molding there is let's see, where is that hole? Can't see it. The T molding, I have reproduction T molding as well that we're gonna put on there. I got some extra from when I did the cabinet originally. I took off all the old T molding because it was falling apart and brittle. And again, it was 30 years old. And then I replaced it with some new stuff that looks identical, which was awesome. Because I can imagine getting the color just right is a hard thing to do. I compared the color of what I got to what was originally on there, and it looks, you can't tell the difference. It's amazing. So I think two more holes that we have to get in here. Man, this sucks. Let me tap this out so I can see. There we go. And then one more. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? One, two, three. Maybe one more right here. I see it. There we go. All right. So we got all the holes poked for the Lexan to be dropped in. So we can see what we're doing when we get to that step. Next, we got to drop these dust washers back into place. Get them in the right angle, right side up. We'll roll them back into place, and they sit down in this little gap. There's a recessed gap that this gentleman who made this for me put in there. And most control panels have them. There's dishwashers or the dust washers is floating around in here. There we go. So check out Lab Arcades. He's out in Pennsylvania, kind of middle of the state, and his name is Patrick. That's my middle name. Patrick is great. I've actually bought from Claude through the arcade forum that I'm part of. Um, I originally found him there. He sold me Mortal Kombat 1 board, the Y unit that I've got revision 4, and he was super easy to work with, very quick, prompt, very professional. He's a younger guy. He's around my age. Say younger. I mean, I'm not super young anymore, but he's probably in his late 30s. But he owns his own business. Very cool. And um, super friendly guy. And I saw that he made these control panels. He didn't have MK3 on there, but he had MK2. And I'm thinking, if this guy CNCs his own stuff, I can guarantee that if he makes MK2 control panels, that he will make an MK3 for me. And he, of course, confirmed that he could do that. And he made it happen. It was very exciting to get that done. I was originally going to go buy all this stuff from and just wait. I was waiting for over a month for XL Arcade. If you're familiar with XL Arcade, they've got great products over there for certain custom things that you're looking to do. I actually bought the Lexan part from XL Arcade. These don't want to go down on this screw. It's for the newer ones. People chatting? No, okay. Just wanted to keep an eye on the chat just in case you guys are trying to ask questions, and I don't want to ignore you. It's okay if you're not asking questions. Put these in place. I'm hoping that I didn't strip these when I hammered them down through the wood. It looks like I kind of did a little bit. Nothing that a wrench here or a screwdriver won't get this thing down on to it for. We'll do that really quick. This guy here. I go this way. There we go. Just gotta get through the top part. I'm gonna get this fairly tight down into the wood because I really want that metal to hug against this wooden panel as much as possible. Again, this is reproduction, so it's not going to be as perfectly fit as an original, um, but that's okay. I mean, the guys that I bought the metal panel from and the wooden panel from are excellent. I mean, these guys know exactly what they're doing. Again, the fact that the wooden panel and the metal panel from two separate vendors, as well as the artwork. And I checked the Lexington too from a third vendor. It all lines up perfectly, so everyone's got their ducks in a row. Everything looks great there. Will this look perfect? I hope so. We'll see. I'm having some high hopes. A lot of this stuff, um, quality wise, is absolutely great. I'm not paying me to say that. It's hard to find, like, in, me doing the Star Wars costuming and the movie accurate stuff there with 501st and all that. There's a lot of vendors you got to know and trust, and there's folks out there that uh, aren't as great. And I found that the same situation applies to working on arcade stuff. You find a handful of vendors that does quality work, and you keep them in your back pocket. The guy that built the control panel, the metal control panel for me, he lives out in California. Um, he goes by the Arcadeologist. If you want to find him online, he's got a Facebook page and a website. He um, he gave me his phone number after we had our transaction. He's like, "Hey, if you ever need anything else, here's my number. Just let me know." Um, And so the metal is kind of sticking out a little bit on the outsides. Let's see if you can see that. See how this is sticking up a little bit? When I get a screw down through there, it's going to bite into that wood. It's going to be perfect. You won't even be able to tell there's any bend to that metal. So I've got 7 pieces for the main control panel set up. We need 4 to do the brackets here. So we have one on this side, and we have one on this side. I marked this one as an R, so I'd remember it in the future. So I'm gonna start on the left side, the one you can't see on the camera very well, and then I'll move over to the right. So with arcade cabinets, I found that it's kind of fun because you get to play with different elements of. Oh, oh, drop the whole control panel on my foot. Um, Different elements of, I guess, I guess hardware work stuff. I mean, you work on computer parts. If you want to get to that level, you get into soldering, you get into wiring, a lot of fun electronic stuff there. And if that's not your cup of tea and you want to like outsource that to somebody else, I mean, by all means, you can do that. But then you have the ability to do all the other work with the woodworking and working on the control panels like we're doing today. This one is having a hard time getting getting down there. It's going. It's just going slow. I'm gonna find that extender. That's what I should probably do. That'll save me a ton of time. Give me a second. Uh, where did it go? Here it was. This guy off. We'll stick this on there. And that will be off to the races. Yeah, that's a lot better. All right. What else? What else? Hopefully, Ben, if you're still watching, hopefully you guys are doing well. I don't know if you saw that I posted about that Mortal Kombat Classic in Cincinnati. It's literally like right around in your area. It's a 2-day event. I talked to Drew. He's the guy who runs it. He's the guy who also created Ultimate MK3, um, Ultimate MK3 Plus rather. And he says there's no like vendors or anything like that. It's just literally at one of the arcades in the outskirts of Cincinnati. It's not like in downtown or anything like that. And they just get together for a weekend and they do Mortal Kombat games, whether it's consoles or arcade or MAME or whatever. And they have like, elite tier guys that have come out for tournaments for several years. So if you want to watch like really, really good Mortal Kombat guys, like arcade wise, that are really into the arcade scene, like the classic arcade scene, if you loved that as a kid, watching, guys play each other at the arcade and this, are extremely good, you kind of get to relive that if you really want to just kind of be a spectator. But at the same time, Drew was saying that he wants to be able to make sure it's an event for everybody, and that if you want to just come and play casuals and stuff like that, they'll have that there as well as it's an arcade, so it's not just Mortal Kombat that weekend. Skim didn't see when it was. It's like I think it's in April. I think it's the beginning of April. It's like next month. I told Drew, not that we're on like chummy with Drew, but I've been talking to him off and on because he helped me with getting my board to work with uh, his mod, and it's crazy because I learned about Drew and Paul through an audiobook about Mortal Kombat, and I joined their Discord server, and I was like, these guys are never going to talk to me, and so I asked Drew, I was like, hey, I saw on a post that you'd never make these unless it's for people that you know. I don't really know you, but I'd love to have this working on my board, you know. And I just kind of shot my shot, And he was a very friendly guy. He's like, yeah, I can help you out, and I said, hey, I'm willing to donate, everything like that, and he was very appreciative of that. And so, long story short, we got that rolling. So I also had to pop some holes. Like whenever I get this CNC board, I'm moving the camera. Sorry. Try to look on the other cam. there's like here's the where the joysticks kind of go. There's a hole here, a hole here, hole here, and here to mount the joystick itself. There were no holes in this. I guess I just had to drill them myself. Something that maybe Patrick um, didn't do, but it's not a big deal. It was easy enough for me to accomplish. So this panel is looking great. Again, they're sticking out on the edge, but once I get the Lexan down on this, it's going to be awesome. Our disc washer or dust washers are in place. The panels are in place for the um, bracket system to keep the control panel locked, but we don't have this last metal piece set up. If you remember this guy here that was on the original board, and if looking at the original board, the top is the three side 1, 2, 3, the bottom is the 1, 2, 3, 4. This was laying down right here. So I'm going to have to mimic these exact holes on this other board, and there's nothing pre-drilled there, which kind of sucks. So what I'm going to do, to the best of my ability, is measure the distance between the edge of the board and the holes, at least on the edges, and then if I can mark those, I should be golden because once you get those other two, I know where the other ones go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure that first on the original control panel. We'll move the new control panel out of the way and set this aside. Yeah, once you get the metal on that new control panel, it's just as heavy as the old one. Now we bust out our tape measure. We got one right here. So we are at, look, I love factory-based reproduction. Like whenever like they built these cabinets back in the 90s, like they had everything down to a science so they can create thousands and thousands of these things. So the measurements are like spot on. So this looks like it's about 2.5 inches from the edge on both sides. It's a little bit over on the one. So if we mark 2.5 inches on the one side, it's going to be perfect for everything else. So on my left-hand side of everything, 2.5 inches in is where I'll drill my hole. We've got a drill right up here, so we can do that. Let me get a bit for it, and we'll be off to the races there. So we gotta make sure I find a bit that's not too big. I will reference the old screw holes. That looks a little too big still. And I think we're going down to 3/32. That is our winner. Yep, feels pretty good. 3/32. So let's set this to the side. We'll put our bit in our drill. We got to remember we are drilling at 2.5 inches from the left side of the new control panel. And then we'll just line everything else up and drop things in. We gotta double check where those screws are. I don't know where I put them. I think I left them up here on my, yeah, they're right here. It's interesting too, as I was building this cabinet out, I learned that um, a lot of the old screws that were used and a lot of the old metals, like the washers on there, were thicker than the washers I was buying at Lowe's. So when you hear people talk about how stuff was built a lot better back in the day, um, no shit, it really was. Like the washers, I had to use two washers to equate to the same thickness of washer used in the original washer comparison that I had for some of the control panel fasteners to replace some of the ones that were getting rusty and falling apart. And I mean, maybe I didn't have the exact same model and that's why they're a little bit smaller or whatever. But like, again, going to Lowe's and just pulling them off the shelf, they were not as thick or as high quality as the ones that were originally in there. Okay, let's grab the new panel and we got the drill here. We gotta make sure we measure right. In this case, since we have the black laminated wood, I'm going to grab a silver marker to help us mark it where we can see it. Should have a silver marker in here. We do. This is the same silver marker that I was walking around. If you're a Donkey Kong fan, a lot of legendary world record holder Donkey Kong players have held this thing. I have a couple marquees signed by them and some trading cards. the people that you would expect. The controversial Billy Mitchell. I've met him a couple times. He's honestly a very nice guy. I know people kind of shit all over him, but I think Billy's a great guy from the times I've met with him. And it wasn't even like in a public sense. There was some evenings where I was at an event where it was just him and me, and we were just talking, and it was such a casual experience. We were talking about his son, who was at the time in high school, really liked football, planning to join the military whenever he got out of school. Um, and again, great dude. I got to meet other people in the first Kong off in Pittsburgh back in a few years ago at this point. Oh, you know what other thing I need to measure is the distance from the top of the board down. It looks like it's like nothing. So there's a difference in, of course, the left or right, but the top down, what's the difference there? We're looking at a little less than, hold on, let's see here. Let's go up here so I can see better. It's like smack dab in like right before 2/3. Or sorry, before half inch. Gotta get this right or it's gonna be bad. This is the probably the hardest part now. So we'll mark in, and this is the underside of the board, so we can kind of do whatever. So what did we say? 2.5 inches? That I can't remember now. I've been talking way too much. Let me double check off camera. Yeah, it was 2 3/4 inch. 2 3/4 inch. Okay, and then we have to do, what was it? What did I say? It's like right there. Hold on. Ah, yep. All right. There's our hole. Benny's still on here? How's your little workshop area coming along? Have you been working on that lately? I'm only just popping a little hole, enough to pilot it for now. All I need. And then we'll line up our middle piece, our bracket here, and we should be able to just, once we have that piece lined up, we should be golden for everything else. Oh, look at how that went in originally. All right, that looks like it was right there. Okay, we're gonna start the screw. I gotta kind of angle this up because of how this lip comes down. And the purpose of this little lip guide is to, again, prevent kids from putting their hands down where the CRT monitor would be and touching it, and or potentially, you know, trying to break any security components that are present, that are around uh, the control panel. And it just has a cleaner look if you have this little bevel piece. I've seen arcade cabinets that don't have this, and it's not the end of the world. But I tell you what, it looks so much better when you have it. And so again, I don't have a reproduction. I'm just using the original on on this on this reproduction piece of wood. We're just filling some pilot holes here. Keeps it easier to screw stuff in. It's good. I'll drop a few pictures in Discord. Been tinkering with a 3D printed blaster. Did you order a 3D printer, or because I know you're talking about that for a while, or did you have somebody else 3D print it and then you're, building it yourself once you've got like the foundational pieces? I know you're working on your um, Mando for Mando Mercs. I'm excited to drop this thing into place and see if I lined this up properly or if I really effed it up. I think based on my measurements, we should be good, but you never know. We're about ready to move back over to the actual arcade cabinet so I can get a better angle of everything here in a sec. I'm going to step away. I'm going to move this panel over to the arcade cabinet itself and see how well it drops down. Give me 1 second. Oh, it fits like a glove. We're going to have to scrap everything, but fits pretty nicely. Okay, so let me go ahead and move the camera back. So I think we're good over here now. I clean up my workbench. It's always critical that while you're working to clean up after yourself as you go, because if you don't, you have a giant mess on your hands at the end of your project, and you're going to be too damn tired to do anything. So you're like, oh, I don't want to. I'll do this later. I'll just do it later. And yeah, that won't happen. Oh, I put the bolts in on that thing a little early. I have to pull them back off, and then I'll have to get that. There's the new panel sitting there. I don't have it strapped down yet. It'll fall right off, but let me move the microphone. And we'll move the camera that I'm in front of right now. Scoot you back over here so you can see me on this side. Let me make sure I don't trip over any wires that I've got over here. Set the microphone back on my stool. There's a couple buttons. It's roughly where I was earlier. I'll adjust it from the other side in just a second. Well, I won't clean up my drill. I'll leave my drill the way it is for the moment, and then adjust this camera too. Because it's a little different than my normal stream. Normally I'm playing video games, right? Or I guess I've done some costume building before on stream. So there's the panel. It is loose right now, and I don't have any team molding on it. We'll grab some team molding a little bit, cut and trim that up. The team molding part will be super simple to do. Um, so to see, there is a little bit of an overlap, but when we put the buttons down, you won't be able to tell. Okay. So I'm gonna have to bust out my 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Yep. I'm gonna bust out my ratchet here because I screwed up a little bit earlier. Put these on a little premature. I gotta take all 4 of these off. I'm looking at your text now. One of the other Mandos had spare blaster for sale, so I grabbed one. Oh, cool. What do you know? What style blaster? Do you know what the name of it is? I was telling. I don't know if you were in here yet. Whenever I was telling folks earlier, we're going to an armor party tomorrow for our 501st Legion, but we invite all the other costuming clubs. Like if you're Rebel Legion or Mando Mercs, we welcome you to come along too. We don't isolate it to one costuming club. So we do have a couple guys that are going to be there that are not in 501st, but they are in Rebel Legion and Mercs. So we all get together, we cook and chit chat, and sometimes work on costumes. Which then I'm working on a biker scout I think tomorrow for some guy that's actually hosting it. His name's Michael, and we'll be doing that. It'll be pretty fun. Okay. All right. So now I've got the nuts off of the pin bolts here. So I'm going to go ahead and line up this metal bracket. This folds to helps the control panel move as we need it to. And so I've seen arcade guys who rebuild these, do this in all kinds of different ways. And there are ways to get this to sit flush. I honestly find the best way is just to let it rest on your body or your torso as you line up the panel. It just works so well. And again, these guys got this panel down to a science that this just fits my arcade cabinet. I mean, they CNC the wood, they know the exact measurements of everything. So it cuts out any like extra work that I have to do to like trim the edges, that kind of thing. It just fits. So I love it. So there's an extra bolt I'm going to add here to put the grounds back in place. I have a flatline ground and a ground that goes to the um, transformer, the isolation transformer at the bottom there. Um, it's important to keep your game grounded, as we talked about before. It will help you with making sure your buttons work. It'll also make you not get shocked. It'll also make sure that your board doesn't get fried. In this case, I don't have a CRT. We were talking about that earlier. If I had a CRT in here, it will help you if you're grounding everything metal-wise in this cabinet from getting any shock from the CRT because it is a full 120 volts going to the CRT itself. It's not getting transferred to any like DC power. It's all strict AC, and it's very uncommon nowadays with everyone having LCDs and LED TVs and things like that. It's just not a thing anymore. So you don't have to have an isolation transformer in your arcade cabinet if you don't have a CRT. So whenever I go to build my, hold on, did you talking here? It's clone, it's clone caption, the clone caption DC 17. Okay, yeah, with the extended barrel. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's cool. That's cool. Very nice. Let me grab another bolt here. I need a little more. Gonna move the camera for a second. It's a tight fit down here in the basement where I'm working. And then we'll grab our Lexan because we're going to need that just in a few minutes. And then once we get the Lexan down, we will be able to put the buttons down and start rebuilding everything else. We're getting close to where we want to be. It's awesome. Maybe we turn on the game afterwards and play a little bit of UMK3. UMK3 Plus, that is. I don't know. We'll see. I do have to get to bed at a reasonable time tonight because we are getting up in the morning to go to the armor party, which is about an hour away from our house. So can't can't stay up super late. So now I'm just kind of tightening this bolt down. I have, again, those two grounds tucked between two bolts on the control panel, just to further ground this metal all the way up to where the controls actually live. And then, of course, all the buttons themselves have their own direct ground lines as well. So now this panel is strapped in. So let's drop it down into place. It's a little tight. It's sticking up a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. It is not perfect, but it's pretty freaking close. And I think the reason why it's sticking up a little bit again is I don't have the Lexan screw down into the wood yet. That's going to help tremendously here in a second, which will push this down. Yeah, that's going to fix it. Okay, so let me go ahead and get my new old stock security screws. I have to get a security screw holder, captain, not caption. Sorry, no, yeah, I got you. I know what you meant. I know what you meant. So just bear with me while I'm off camera for a second. I gotta find some uh, my accessories. I'll walk back over on camera with my box of stuff. Got my little ratchet set here too. So over the last few months, I got this cabinet back in December on December 9th. It's funny I remember that exact date. December 9th is when I picked it up out in Maryland, out in the Glen Burnie area, just south of Baltimore. And where is my screens? Here we are. Huh. When I picked it up, it definitely had seen better days. I wonder if I need to bring that down. I just think it's just the position of how that wood fits because it is flush. All right. I'm wondering if I should probably drill some pilot holes into this wood. I'm gonna go ahead and do that too. So good thing I didn't put my drill away. I'll adjust the camera in just 1 second. So I have to keep walking back and forth from this. All right. Is this too big of a bit? It's not. All right. So we're gonna move this, name it down a little bit. What is in the way? This little camera flap. There we go. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 areas that we're gonna drill. There's a little pilot hole. This is a little in there a little bit, just the tip, and then we'll just crank it down with a screwdriver here in just a minute. I do appreciate you guys watching the stream. I don't know if this is overly thrilling. I feel like people that are into arcade builds and have questions about it might like this. I guess my normal crew that watches me may not care as much, but I do appreciate that you're here. So I'm gonna cut my finger if I'm not careful. I'm gonna go back through these two. There we go. All right. So I'll show you an example of what these screws look like in the head bomb. If you haven't seen a security screw, they're very similar to hex screws, except for they have a little circle in the middle of the bit. These have the washers pre-built on them. So you see, I don't know if you can see in there on the camera or not, it's my hand that's focused. There's a little dot in the middle, and you can't just use a regular hex wrench. You gotta, or hex screw, you gotta have these security bits. And thankfully enough, I have these security bits for, and this is the wrong one, I have to go grab the other one. I have them for my bike. My bicycle uses security screws as well for different parts on your bike. I know, move the camera. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So we will get those in place. So let me grab the right size, and it's a T. I think it's a T15. That's what I was using. Double check to see the fit here. Either a T15 or it's a T20. Yeah, let's see. That's the T15. The T20 fits way better. We'll do T20. And then we will get our baby ratchet. Grab all my stuff that I need here. Just 1 second. I think we lost a couple buttons on the floor. Yeah, we did. How we doing? Cool. So next, can't just start screwing these things down without having the Lexan, right? Where did I do with the Lexan? Here it is. So again, this is a piece of plastic. The idea for this is, again, it's to protect the control panel artwork, the CPO, as they call it, this control panel overlay. And this is backwards, so we can put it around. And that lines up perfectly with our holes. And again, if there's a little overlap, which we see with the metal size versus the wood, that's okay because the buttons will cover all that up. So what we do first is we peel off this piece here, which is, oh, there's a lot of static there, which is going to go right here. Interesting, the panel plastic that, is there plastic on that? There's got to be. Let's see, yeah, there is. It doesn't look as clear as the other one I have, but I bought from the same vendor, so there's definitely an extra piece of plastic to protect this side as well. There we go, comes right off. Now it's nice and clear, and that looks great. So we'll line those up, which is taking the plastic paper out of the way, and we'll grab our security bolts, and we'll just kind of probably send them in hand tighten them first. Just gonna drop a couple in. I want to make sure everything lines up before I start fastening down things all in one spot and then realize that I got to make adjustments. So far, I mean, everything's been fairly seamless with the quality of work from every vendor here. Again, I bought from 3 different vendors for each 3 of the different layers that we have for this effort. And this is going in crooked. That sucks. There we go. Come on, go straight. That's right. All right, so these are looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start screwing these down. I wonder if I should just use a screwdriver. We'll just do that. This approach is a little bit more clunky, so we'll just do this. A lot more torque this way. There we go. And they even have the part number down here that's accurate to the other board. which is printed on there, which is great to see. So that's dropping in super seamlessly, which is awesome to see as well. We're almost back to wiring. Once we get these screws down on the CPO protective Lexan layer, then we'll be ready to wire again. Actually, we'll probably do the T molding next, and then we'll wire everything up. There we go. That's what we want to see. That is nice and flush now. So I'm curious again. If people want to interact, that's fine. I only have a couple viewers, but um, if you ever wanted to own an arcade cabinet, which arcade cabinet would it be? For me, it was always Mortal Kombat 2, and I've done it. I have it. I almost bought an MK1 before I bought this MK2, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I got this one. One's got more sentimental reasons for me. Honestly, there's another arcade cabinet I would love to have. Lisa and I found a love for. Oh no! Ah, there's a piece of freaking paper underneath this piece. Here, there we go. Nice. There's a piece of like foam paper stuck between the plastic and the control panel art. Got that out though. And the game's called uh, uh, what is it called? Shit. Pigskin 1191, I think it is. Or no, Pigskin 62 621 AD, I think is what it is. And it is very kind of rugby-esque. It's like think of like a more violent NBA jam, but football. It's set in like the medieval times. And I played that game whenever I was a kid on Sega Genesis, and I actually own it. And Sega Genesis, they call it Jerry Glanville's Pigskin Foot Brawl, which is a different title than the arcade. Um, and There we go. And I played that a lot as a kid, and I remember playing it. I never played it at the arcade. Didn't realize it was an arcade game until we saw it one year at Replay FX up in Pittsburgh at one of the conventions that they had that no longer exists, which sucks because it was amazing. Um, and Lisa and I, this is pre-Cooper. Um, Lisa and I played it, and we had such a great time playing it against each other. And Lisa's not a huge sports fan. I'm not a huge sports fan either. I'm stepping away for just a second to grab my key holding. Just give me 1 second. Oh no, I just got my oh shit. That's it. Let's see, some scissors. There we go. At least it was paper and not a scratch. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is very true. Here's our extra T molding. We're gonna have to undo the strand. Really need a small piece. I'm gonna. Now I could just pull the T molding off the other piece, but I'm just gonna leave it on there, and I have extra, so why not cut a new piece? All right. So this is very quick, since we're just essentially doing a straight line. Just kind of line up where we need to cut. Mark it with our thumb, which is about right there. And then we cut it, and then we'll cut it a little long, and then we'll trim it up as we need to. I did change all the T molding out on the whole control panel uh, and the rest of the cabinet when I first got this thing, and it was easy. It just took a little bit of time. So I keep walking in front of the camera, moving the camera around. I apologize. I keep needing another tool. So next step is going to be, I'll be over here a little bit, is I'm going to take a mallet and just tap it along the grooves that were recessed into this bad boy, and we'll be off to the races. So you can kind of press fit it a little bit to line it up. You do want to start on one side and work your way across. If you don't, you'll have a problem. So I cut this kind of crooked. That sucks. Um, I can push it down. That should be perfectly fine. There we go. My coin door is loose. Lock the door. Oh, that's the door. It really did not. Yeah. As I smack the thing, the key slowly turns. Yeah. See if there's a chat going on. And this is the tedious part. You pretty much just have to slowly mallet everything across the entire cabinet. And as you have more of the T molding, when you get around edges and stuff, you actually have to trim it and cut the T part a certain way so that it will fit in the recesses properly without coming out later. So I did overcut on purpose so that I can see where I need to cut now. And then we will cut that off. And we will push it in. Could have been a little bit better. It's pretty, pretty good. It's maybe off by an eighth of an inch. That's just me being a pain in the ass because I build Star Wars costumes too much. So now what we have to do is the test. Or we pick up the control panel. We make sure that the T molding doesn't want to pop out. And if it does, we adjust it and pull it up. And in this case, it came up nice and clean, which tells me that Patrick over at Lab Arcade, Lab Arcade is very good at where he's cutting that recess for the T molding. It fits in there perfectly. So kudos to Patrick and his team for that. Okay, next we're ready to put the buttons back on. So the buttons and joystick. We will start with the joystick on each side. Get that all mounted first, and then we'll worry about the buttons. So we'll push this in. We got to make sure we put it in the right position. If we flip it around and we have up is down and down is up, we're going to have a hard time playing the game. So this looks like it's correct. Push a little bit of pressure in there to feed that button up so that the joystick doesn't fall out. This should say, this says, what does this say? It says P1. I wrote like an idiot. And this must be down because this is right. Oh, because it is right. Okay, yeah, we're good. We are good. Now I've got same bolts. I'm hoping to use here, and hopefully this goes right in. We're gonna find out. I might have had to drill bigger holes. We're gonna see. Yeah, this doesn't seem like it's gonna want to go in, which is okay. Let's be a snug fit. I just need to get my screwdriver. It's starting to go in. Let's get my tough guy screwdriver here. Wherever the heck my my bit grip. Well, it's funny because I keep moving things around and I don't know what I'm doing with it. I'll just grab another one from the collection here instead of stalling on the stream to hunt for one little thing. I'll have to look for it later. I'm hoping that this is long enough, or this is long enough, and it goes in where it needs to go. If it stops too early, I'm going to have to get another washer, and it looks like it's going to be perfect. Perfect. Looks like it's going to fit just like the original cabinet, so no adjustments to the screws are needed here. So in this case, I have a screw that has a washer and one of those little kind of I forget the name of them, that little angled kind of pre-cut washer to add a little bit of tightness and firmness to the screw. Can add some to add some tension, pressure, and that helps as you manhandle that controller or the joystick when you're playing the game to not loosen up the actual joystick. So I'm just gonna slowly tighten those pieces up. So again, I didn't pull the wiring off of um, this joystick. Now this is bad here because it's the way I don't want to damage the wire. It's not going in. It's going in now. Time is it? It's not even 10 o'clock here. That's awesome. Honestly, I expected this to take me longer to do. It's funny, I put all these little stickers or the tape, painter's tape on the joystick, but I didn't have to because I didn't take the leads off the switches. Hoping it goes in soon. It's not going in. On. This is the last one. Come on, let's go. I got it. And then the run buttons, I didn't talk to you about the run buttons. On the original Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate 3, and 4 cabinets. Oh, come on. It's stopping right here. The came out. The button, run button's yellow. Yeah, that's not going in at all. What the hell's going on? All right. Well, I can't see what the camera the way it is. I'm gonna move the camera for just 1 second while I peek down here to see where our hole is and why it's not going in. So I just pulled the leads off of the. There we go. Is it going in? Oh, what the fudge? There we go. It's biting now. There we go. Getting a little worried. Getting a little worried. Let's fix the tripod. Move the camera up just a little bit. So this is back in place. We gotta plug our wires back in. Again, the little hook bottom half of um, your switch connection, similar to the one that Ben had made for me for the Refund Arcade stuff. That is always the ground. I keep dropping buttons. Go ahead and pull this tape off now. We don't need it. Do some house cleaning as we go here. Maybe. Maybe I shouldn't use tape. Maybe I should have used like something else. We'll grab some scissors. Let's cut the tape a little bit here. Weaken it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this is the hard part, is getting the damn tape off. And yes. TJ butt cam. Oh, I missed the TJ butt cam. I'll have to rewatch my butt cam later. That's when I was hunching over the cabinet while I had the camera behind me. There we go. This one came off pretty good. Yeah, these QDCs are quick disconnects that are on the uh, joystick. The joystick and all the parts to the joystick are new. The QDCs are original from the original harness. I did not change. Oh, that comes out way too easy. That's a concern. Why does that come out so easy? As long as it doesn't fall out, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to look at that. Anyway, like I said, the QDCs are original, so mileage may vary on how well they perform. I've not had any issues with them on the game, um, but at the same time, that one seems a little loose, which is concerning. Which I have extra QDCs that should fit the control panel here, the joystick switch, and by all means, I can swap them out. They're a little bit. It's a little time consuming to do that because you have to strip the wire and then crimp it with a crimper. I went out and bought a crimper, two different style crimpers, one for Molex connectors and one for these QDCs, as opposed to using like pliers, needle nose pliers, because the crimpers just get a better bite. Yeah, this comes right off. That is definitely a problem. What I'm going to do is just simply use the needle nose pliers to squeeze down on the QDC a little bit to bend the cord. Maybe that'll help, or bend the metal prongs. So ow, oh, ow, ow, ow. It'll bite a little bit. It just did. Pinched my finger while I did that too. Ooh. Okay, let's get our C clamp, which hopefully we didn't lose our little C ring things here. There should be two of them. I see one. There's the other one. And this will help hold the joystick in place. Keep dropping all my buttons. So this, I use my belly to push, and I hold this, and again, you'll probably see it better when I do the other side. Push the white piece down to expose the little gap for the C-clip clamp, and I push it on there, and it drops right into place, and it holds perfectly. So the joystick is ready to be played. We are good to go. Everything seems to be solid on connections. Nothing's loose now. All right, so I'll go ahead and wire up the buttons, and then we'll move over to here. Actually, I better not. It looks like this is dependent on these other wires. So to prevent putting too much stress on any of the older wires, we're going to mount the other joystick too. Let's get all the hard stuff out of the way, and then put the buttons in. The buttons are going to be quick drag and drop in. Oh yeah. All right. Honestly, besides putting this new control panel on, I'm going to put some new bezel artwork in. Not tonight, but outside of that, I'm going to do the mods on MK2, and I think I am officially official when it comes to being done with the cabinet. I can put the buttons in and just not wire everything up. I'll slide the buttons in and just keep them loose, and then we'll tighten them up as we need to, just so that they're in there. Um, Actually, we'll just do all of player one and then do um, player two separately. So again, the coloration is easy to remember if you know the American flag. It goes red, white, and blue. So red on the punches, white in the middle for your block, and blue for your kicks. And then if you have an MK3, Ultimate MK3, or a Mortal Kombat 4 arcade cabinet, the run button is yellow. Why yellow? I don't know. To me, it seems like it doesn't fit very well in the whole coloration cabinet scheme. But they wanted to do a different color button, and I can see why they didn't do green. Green, kind of stands out a lot more. I don't know. I like yellow between yellow and green. I think yellow makes more sense. So you can see there's no recesses on the back of these uh, control panels. This Repro one, unlike the other one, there was like a dip so that the button nut would sit down inside a little bit more. Um, and I don't know if it's really needed, but it did give it the button nut a bit more of a grab so that it won't get loose. I'm on the floor picking up some of these buttons. They fell on the ground. I'm going to break them if I'm not careful. So here's the other blue. I'm going to put the run buttons in last because they're taped down to the ground, onto the floor of the control panel already. All right, so now that we've got these all in, we'll do the run button last right here. We're going to move over to the control panel joystick. I got to find the joystick because it's not here anymore. There it is. Okay. So we got to pick up this guy, and we need to make sure we get it in the right position. That should be down, which this is the right position. So we will stick our joystick into that. I'll give it a slight push. Make sure it stays. Yep, it's not going to stay if I don't get a screw in there. We'll grab our screw. So we'll start getting this in there. It's my camera. I think my camera on my actual computer is a little low. Can't really see my face very well. There we go. It's a little better. All right. All right, so let's get our screwdriver. Again, in this case, we have a button. I'm gonna pull this wire. I don't want to damage that wire. Okay. Gotta move in front of the camera again because this is being difficult. Oh no, is it getting loose? Shit. Let's hope that these other ones don't get loose on me. Yeah, I mean, again, there's some downsides to the repro panels where like the little nut washer thing that he has in there is, if it gets loose, then these nuts will get loose too, and that's a problem if it does. I think it'd have been cooler if I could have found an original control panel um, for MK3, and then bought that, and then just changed the CPO artwork. But trying to find that without the whole cabinet is not easy. It's very unlikely to do. So pull this wire just for safety purposes. Okay. This going in. Yeah, we saw Bash the Stampede that popped in earlier. I don't think he's on the stream anymore, but he is a guy that I met a few years ago. We had a common interest in Mega 64, if you know who Mega 64 is. And I sold an original Marcus puppet. What's it called? They're not just called not called Marcus, but it's the same style puppet used from Mega 64. And I had an original one that was from the original production style look, as opposed to some of the newer ones that didn't have the same coloration to the suit. And I sold it on eBay, and I ended up getting stuck in the mail for a while. And he eventually got it after it was kind of lost in the mail for a while. And I was filing a missing package thing for it and everything, and thankfully, eventually, he got to him. But he, I joke with my wife that he's my online pen pal because I still talk to him on like Instagram and stuff like that. Uh, just because of that random like common bond of us liking Mega 64 um, and all that. So it's kind of fun how people you randomly meet online, just from random things that are similar to your interest. Put this back in here, and then we'll do the last screw. These out if I can. There we go. All right, this is the last piece of hardware we got to crank into the cabinet. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, almost lost it. Almost fell down in the cabinet. That would have sucked. And then we just use the little button fastener, and the other switches just click right into place on the buttons, as opposed to me having to deal with screwing everything in. So in future streams, whenever I'm not playing video games, I might stream. Did I do this wrong? Shit, I did this wrong. Put the washer in the wrong spot. I'll do. I'm thinking about doing a stream where I'm working on the bench, and I'll have a better camera angle than what's going on whenever I was at the bench earlier, and do some wiring work to build the test bench. Maybe not. Maybe that's too boring. But gonna have the TV, a small TV mounted to the wall there, like I was saying earlier, and then the test bench to just test any JAMA arcade games. Um, I have a Mortal Kombat 3 board that I bought. Again, you're probably thinking, well, he has an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Why would you buy a Mortal Kombat 3? Actually, the Mortal Kombat 3 boards are much more uncommon. They're harder to find. And the version that I got is a version 1.0, so it's an original like build of the board. It's not one of the beta ones. There was a beta release for MK3, but I'm gonna upgrade the ROMs to the latest build of MK3. Again, it's MK3, not Ultimate MK3, and have that as a backup. And eventually, if I want to get a six-way switcher from Jim Riddle, who does my four-way switcher and my two-way switcher that I own, um, then we can dive into that one day. Not not today, but I bought the board. I got a great price on it from an arcade owner out in Florida. He was a little reluctant to sell me the board with not friends and family because he thought I was going to scam him. I'm still waiting for it to come in the mail. It went from Florida to New York and it should be on its way west here in the next couple days. But I sent him my feedback on eBay. I've had an eBay account since 2005 when I was in high school, and I've had over 70 transactions, or about 70 transactions, at least 70 transactions at this point. And a couple others that are pending right now. Um, and I'm like, dude, I got 100%. Here's my my arcade forum feedback, 100%. I am not going to scam you. I don't. It's not my style. I'll do that. So I'm hoping that eventually he got a little bit okay, more calm with the concern, and then he ended up sending the board out. Still waiting for it to show up, but it all should work. I saw, he sent me videos of certain things I asked for. Everything looks like it's in great working order. It's a Wolf board, Wolf unit, Midway board, original MK and Ultimate MK. Now I can't use the Ultimate MK ROMs on the MK3 board because of the security chip we were talking about earlier. So there's a little nuances there to that. So I got the joystick back in place. We were in business there. And now we're ready to put our buttons in. And then we'll put the run button in and we'll wire up to the last bit and we'll be all done. And by all means, we're going to test it. I'll boot up a game. We'll put the camera facing the arcade cabinet and then we'll power cycle to whatever we have to. I'll try like a game or two. And I'm not that great at MK, not on the arcade. Um, I'm decent. I'm pretty good. But after watching people like Drew and some other really good arcade players, um, I kind of laugh at how good I am. I played the heck out of it on Sega Genesis when I was a kid, like a ton, like hours and hours of it. Just me and myself and I playing two player because I would just have the other controller sitting there and I would uh, memorize moves and I would use manual like books like magazines that would come out back in the day to know the different moves for things. So that when I did play my friends, I had such an arsenal of knowledge of the different combos, the different characters, and what played well against other players, depending on who you were playing, and all that stuff. All that knowledge just it goes away after a while. You don't forget some of the moves, some of the iconic freeze moves and scorpion stuff and all that, but over time you forget some of the more detailed strategies of at least the console version of the game. All right, so I didn't tighten these down all the way with the nut thing. I want to get these angled in the right position so that whenever I put these back into place, they don't the buttons or the switches don't kind of run into each other with the wiring. So this one I'm going to peel off first. We're going to read what it says. This one says player 2 low punch, and that's down here at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and get this one wired up. And so this goes in the switch that's on this, and you probably can't see it very well. You say hydrate? Hydrating is such a great idea right now. I'm glad you did that because I totally brought a cup of water down here. Hold on 1 second. That's such a good. I'm so thirsty. I gotta find my water. That's the problem. What did I do with my water? My mysterious water. Where did you go? Oh, here it is. I'll go on camera to drink the water so you have proof. Because I'm up in the camera a bunch. All right, this here. All right, so I just drank all that water, so don't make me drink water again because I can't. I'll have to go buy more at the water store. Low punch. Let me get this in place here. Um, now I gotta remember how to do this. Once I remember it once, it clicks. It's like that, I think, and then you push down. Yep. Get up like this. So we go like this. Pick that up. Boom. So again, yeah, this one's not going to work well. So I need to rotate this, tighten this down. Which the problem now is the button tool, you can't put it over top of your switch. You got to get it right the first time. So you kind of have to know exactly where you want it, which is a pain in the butt. So we're going to face this one up and away from the other buttons. Let's go find the high high punch. Here it is. I see it right here. Layer 2 high punch. So another fun fact for arcade games is there's some arcade games have 3 buttons, some arcades have like Mortal Kombat, you have 6 buttons plus 4 directionals and the start with like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. And in that case, you have to have what's called a kick harness, which is a separate wiring setup that runs to a separate spot on the board. And um, a lot of fighters have that situation that you have to deal with. All right, this one is high kick, it looks like. Yeah, this is player 2 high kick. So on MK 1 and 2, there's a kick harness that is for your um, low kick, high kick buttons, and then the other 3 buttons are already wired, like the block and high and low, or high and shit. What did I say this was for? High kick. This is block. This is what? What is this? That's low kick, and that's start. So yeah, this is high kick. How does this go? Not that way. Goes like this. Okay. Again, I don't like the position for this button. It's putting pressure on the wire, so we're gonna aim it up. And in this case, I'm just gonna have to like just hand tighten these. It's just nature of the situation. All right, I'm gonna do the start button here. Player 2 start. And just think like I don't know, people that own arcades back in the day and they were working on arcade cabinets, those guys would have to be so quick. They don't want to have a game down like if this was a game that was being worked on and is down, they're not making money, right? And if they're not making money, it's a bad situation to be in. So in that situation, they're probably rushing to get things up and running as soon as possible. And in that case, they can haphazardly make some mistakes, we'll say, and I don't like how this is. I'm gonna face this one down. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And then we'll tighten it up in just a second here. Again, it's all about positioning of these wires. You don't want to put too much tension on the wires. One, the connectors can come off. Is this already, wow, this is already getting funky. I already have, these switches are practically brand new. I mean, they're only a few months old and there's some like yellowing on some of the connectors. There's no moisture in the air. I don't know what that's all about. I mean, there's moisture in the air, but like it's not like it's damp and gross in the basement. We have proper insulation and various climate control stuff down here, and I run the dehumidifier when it gets gross. This is player 2 block. So we will get this set up. Let's see, this needs to go like that, which I don't like, so we need to rotate this button like this. Let's see how this one wires up pretty bit, much better. Okay, looks a lot better. All right, I'm gonna hand tighten this a bit more. Okay, and then this one should be our low kick, which it is. But you can see, yeah, this process, I was just kind of saying like, yeah, this is, I didn't think this was going to take me as long, or it would take me longer, but it's taking a little while to do all this work. Okay, so that one's good. We're going to loosen this up and bring this toward the rest of the other wiring, and then tighten it up. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the player two. Player two, I think I wired this up to be the blue button. Red is player one and blue is player two, if I recall correctly. Look at the wiring harness here, and that looks right. So I'm going to go ahead and I have to remove the switch on the run before I can drop it in. And then once we get this yellow button in, then all of the player two buttons will be wired up. And we'll just repeat on player one side and we'll be done. Lots of wiring going on right here, right around the control stick. And it's a tight fit. Again, if there wasn't precision here with the guys that I bought this from, this just wouldn't work. And they do an excellent job. So I need to rotate this to where this is up the other way. Like that. So this top bit is in the upward position. I'll tuck it up underneath the wire here. And then push this in. Push this down and it clicks right there. We are good to go. And you can see the, maybe you can't see the wiring, but the wiring on the run button is not the original um, QDCs. It's another QDC that I had to buy that's from a more recent time, so they look a little different. So this button is player one. Let's see, player one start. Okay. That's a good place to start is the start button. I don't know what game I had running on this last. I want to say I had MK2 running. I was tinkering with it last night a bit and getting the other ROMs working. So I'm going to rotate this down. Down and at an angle. I hear Lisa in the other room. She's must be down here from finishing up with the coops. I think what this yellow material is, or this yellowing, is probably some sort of lubrication that they have in there for the switch, the micro switch, and it's just simply kind of leaking out a little bit after some use. And that's probably fine. It's not a big deal. You can re-lubricate those buttons, or you can just buy a new switch. Probably easier to re-lubricate, to be honest. This is player one high punch. So this is just in the same spot right next to where we're at. Kind of prefer to have these buttons probably facing up if possible. So we're going to rotate this. And, or did I rotate that wrong? I did. You want it to be like that. So I want to grab, wait a minute. My brain's giving me a hit of brain fart. Is this right? No. This way. Yes. This way. There we go. And I'm going to face this up to get the wiring a little bit away from the other wiring because it's just so tight in here. Such a cluster of stuff. And honestly, don't get intimidated with the amount of wiring that's in here. I was super intimidated at first. And to be honest, there's just two wires per button. It's the ground wire and the actual positive lead that tells the game that there is a button press that's being fired off. This is high kick. Let's not jump into high kick yet. Well, we can. It's just right here. So why not? Let's do it. So this is our high kick. I got a ton of green tape laying on the floor over there. We will rotate this a little bit. think this one through. I think we want to have the button facing this way a little bit to ease the tension off of the pressing mechanism. So there we go. We'll put tape on there still. And we'll tighten this up. And then we'll be moving on to the next one. We're getting there. We're almost done. This one is low punch, I think. Yep, player one low punch. Speaking of arcades, if you haven't been out, if you ever get a chance to go to Chicago, make your get a chance to go out to Galloping Ghost. It is the best, world's largest arcade, and it is run by a guy who really cares about the industry and super friendly, super awesome experience. And I got to go out there. Got to meet one of Lisa's guildies from Star Wars while we were there. And I played some games together. It was pretty fun. And because he's from the Chicagoland area, and he used to love. Like, and this is again pre-Cooper. He used to had a conference out there, and I tagged along with her for this conference. Got to spend the whole day at the Galloping Ghost arcade, and it was a very memorable experience. Had such a great time there. There's a lot of games that don't exist anywhere else that you can play there, like Primal Rage 2. There was a sequel to Primal Rage 2 that never got finished. There's a lot of prototype games that are there. There's a Beavis and Butthead arcade game that came out, um, so to speak, in prototype form that they were testing in various locations. And Doc Mack, the guy who owns the arcade, actually got his hands on one of those boards and the cabinet, and he's got that in the arcade to play. So like a one of a kind MTV's Beavis and Butthead arcade game. It plays very similarly to a kind of a hybrid of the SNES version of Beavis and Butthead and the Sega Genesis one. I would say it feels more like the Sega Genesis one, but it's more of like a 3D walk around as opposed to like a more story driven side scroller um, with like objectives to complete. I don't know. It's good. It's a good game. And if you like Beavis and Butthead, it's a cool experience too because again, it's an arcade game that you really can't play anywhere else. All right, last button here besides the run button that we made anew. We're going to make sure we hand tighten these down as best as we can so they don't get loose on us. Thankfully, it's not a big deal if they do. I can just pop this cabinet piece open and adjust it as needed. But we are looking nice and locked in. I'm going to go ahead and move this wire in. I'm going to have to probably grab one of the wiring holsters that I've got to kind of keep the wiring from getting all tangled up in here. I put one of those in before I close this up and boot up the game. And here is our last run button. I'm going to pull the switch off like I did the other one so we can feed the button through. And so a lot of games like NBA Jam, for example, it's a four-player game if you wanted to make it a four-player game. Of course, my control panel does not support four players. So you can turn it into like two-player mode essentially. And what is a flight fit, isn't it? So I turned it into two-player mode. And in that case, you don't need a kick harness for anything there because you're not playing 3 and 4 players. So you only use 3 of the buttons on the each player's side of the control panel to play NBA Jam on the MK board or on the MK control panel. Yeah, this is like a tight fit. Like this. I don't know why that was like hard to move for whatever reason. Again, I think I need to have it like down here. Because I have to rotate it. What am I thinking? That's what I want like this. Okay. go. Press the button. Looks pretty good. We're gonna turn it a little bit here. So it wants to cooperate. There we go. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna do a last minute check on all the buttons here. Make sure that they're nice and tight. That there's no pressure on any specific one wire. And then I will grab something to wrap up these extra wires that I've got because I didn't know how much I was going to need. And I will probably zip tie this with a baby zip tie. I've got a ton of those. It's good to have zip ties for your arcade cabinet. I've learned that quite a bit. So don't bend these like this. And I can probably just tuck it into that, to be honest. Yeah, I better get another one so I don't damage anything. All right, 1 second. I'll be right back. We'll grab some controls to fix that. Okay. Zip ties. Put those in here. I've got two zip ties. And then we'll grab some special cutter for the zip ties. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. And then I will also grab um, one of those holster pieces, which is already sitting over there, I would imagine. Let's see. Yeah, these. This one too big. So I got some small ones. Let's zip tie these bad boys first, and then we'll go from there. How we doing on the view? You can see quite well. That's good. All right. So we will zip tie the positive leads of the player 1 and player 2 run buttons, just so that they're nice and organized. So I said I was going to do 2, and there's a reason for that. If you zip tie the one side and it slides around, then you don't have anything to hold on to on the other side. So this will just kind of rest in there. And you can't see it because my hands are in the way, but when you're done, it's just sitting there kind of lassoed up. And I'm gonna scoot this down, and tighten it up again, and then I'll show you the tool I'm gonna use. I'm not gonna use plain old scissors. I've got these special cutters. You'll see these often to cut metal or cut small areas that are just really close to a surface, and these work really well for cutting metal off of anything that you're soldering on a PCB, or in this case, these zip ties to get them really flush to the edge of the connector. Now, I wanted to get these held down somewhere so that they don't move around and try to pull on the buttons. I could try to tuck it under there, but there is a little bit of pull from that. So I would really love to grab something that will support that. So let me clean up a little bit of this tape, move it out of the way, and toss it. And then I'll start digging through some of these other bags to find that connector piece. Okay, that's all cleaned up. And let me pull the cabinet down so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I got a box of goodies. And we're going to find exactly what we're looking for here. These are all different parts, like sound cap kits, extra batteries. And this is what I'm looking for. I don't have small ones in here. They're all big. Oh, no, there's a baby one in there. Now we have a little guy. We got to get a screw. So what I'm talking about is just something like this. It just holds the wire and like a little that just gets screwed down onto the wood. So now that we have that, we need to find a screw that isn't gonna like damage what we gotta um, put in. So I got a baggie full of screws here. We just need something that's fairly small, maybe about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. It goes into the panel. I've got a couple down here. I'm just gonna grab one. Here's one. This is perfect. It's a little guy, and I prefer getting the. If you look throughout the arcade cabinets, you will see that almost exclusively they don't use flatheads or Phillips head screws. They use those like hex bolt style. Granted, this is a newer one that's got the a flathead on it, but it's the kind of the square top with the little kind of built-in washer, and you'll see those throughout at least this arcade cabinet from Midway quite a bit. And I like them because they're universal to the top of these little screwdriver heads. You don't have to have a bit in them, and it also seems to um, get a good grab or hold onto whatever you're screwing down, as opposed to tripping a screw. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the wires into this little um, holder, and this is perfect. It's the right amount. Oh, I'll lose my screw here. The right amount that I need. And I don't like the fact that I'm putting more new holes into the original cabinet that wasn't there originally. But in this case, for the safety, sorry, I had a Jack Sparrow out there for a second. The safety of the cabinet and the wiring and everything, I'm doing that. Just don't want to cause any mischief. And so down in the bottom of the cabinet, you'll see some of that too. I'm not going to show it today, but that kind of behavior. And you got to think a lot of arcade vendors. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do a pilot hole. This is a pain in the ass. They they would just butcher. They would just butcher these boards, especially the control panels. They would just butcher them, cut them, put new holes in, throw a new metal panel overlay on it, turn like a Mortal Kombat into a golf game. Freaking Golden Tee, that's what they used to do. Bass bass fishing games and all this other crap. So a lot of guys that run across a Golden Tee, if you look at the cabinet, you know what the cabinets look like, you'll know it's an old MK1 or an MK2 or MK3 that it used to be. And a lot of times they just took black paint on the side art, like over here, and this covered Raiden or whoever else was on the side art completely with black paint, and then stuck a new sticker on there for the game. All right, so you can see I got the wire. The wire's just kind of sitting there. It's free floating, but it's held down. You can see why I have a zip tie on each side so that this can move around freely, but it's not going to fully slip out and cause a problem. So that's the reason behind the double zip tie. Just something that I learned from an arcade guy that showed me that tip. I think it's probably just something that he does. I don't know if other guys do it, but it was a tip that he showed me, and I thought it was a great one, so I'd do the same thing. This little chain we need to get back onto this board. Um, I'm gonna eyeball where the other chain went. It was right below the low kick button. Or yeah, the low kick button right here. So I'm just gonna mark a spot with my screw. I'm gonna take my drill. Get a little bit of a start there so that this can bite pretty easily. And just screw it down inside. Again, this is made for just helping secure the control panel so that there's not too much pressure or weight being pulled onto it by the lower half, which honestly, the lower half is so well made that I don't envision any problems. But I think it was also there to help keep the control panel from uh, drooping too much as well when an arcade operator was working on it. They were working on the buttons or whatever. And this is being difficult to get this going, unfortunately. I might have to like drill a little more. This sucks. Put the screwdriver between my legs. And I know the camera piece is coming up. There we go. there we go. Just want to make sure you guys can see. So this bolt wants to rotate and it wants to unscrew itself. So what I need to probably do is like get it to come down to the bottom like that, yeah. And then as I screw it in, it'll go down on the metal too. Just gonna keep this straight to put pressure. Mother fudger. I'm gonna go for a bigger pilot hole. Or a deeper pilot hole rather. There we go. And usually the dust that I have in here from drilling in the wood, I have a little handheld jack that we recently got Christmas time that I used to clean this up a little bit. Get my screwdriver. Yeah, really get the home stretch. Just like the icing on the cake here, and we're struggling. There we go. It's going in now. Okay. All right. That's nice and secure. So we got our run button wired up. Everything else is wired up. We did some tidying on the wires at the bottom. Our connections all look good. Just double check in one more time. Everything is connected, not loose. Because if we have any ground wires that are loose and you press the button, it won't work. If you have any positive lead wires loose, not connected, they will also not work. And then you'll be playing the game and be like, what the hell? A button doesn't work. All right. You're looking good. I'm gonna drop the panel down. It's fitting nice and flush. Again, the glass here. I'm gonna move the arcade. I'm gonna tidy up a little bit, move my tools out of the way, and then we'll get the camera set up in such a way that you can see some gameplay, and we'll boot it up. Just bear with me for a second. I'm gonna move this back. You can watch me put some stuff away just for a second. So I was talking about the bezel piece that I got. I'll show you that really quick. I'll actually stick it on the cabinet. This is going to replace the MK2 one. MK2 one's probably going to stay in there, but I want to have the MK3 one in here because MK3 has way more characters and way more. It's Ultimate MK Plus too, so that's additional characters. So trying to memorize all those moves a lot more work than MK2, but it's impossible to have a panel that has everything. Just too much, too many moves and too many games. I actually made a custom artwork. I know some of you guys are in the Refund Arcade chat on Discord. I've seen that one that I created myself for the MK1 game. Trying to make it feel a little retro, as best as I could with the old artwork. We've been making some comments about how Sonya looks pretty unfortunate, let's say. She looks very manly, in my opinion, but that's what the artist did. Okay, almost done. It's always important, I think, to clean up your tools as best as you can. If you don't, you leave so much out and you hate it afterwards. You get frustrated with yourself. All right, almost got everything. So, is that screwdriver? My screwdriver missing? sitting right here inside this thing. So here's a fun little fact. Here's the arcade chip. This is the U47 that died on the Ultimate MK3 board that I bought. Um, just like 20 minutes into using it, or less, I tried one of the guys on the arcade forum that does a ton of Mortal Kombat work hooked me up. Pretty much gave me the chip for free, gave me two of them. So I paid him a couple extra bucks, in addition to the cost of shipping it. But it was so expensive to ship it, and honestly, he didn't make very much money from me as a donation or a thank you. But he was very helpful to keep my arcade board run. His name is Mike. Check out his YouTube channel. He's more MK Swords. He's got a lot of cool videos on board repairs and arcade trivia stuff tied to Mortal Kombat. He also does arcade repairs in addition to Mortal Kombat monitor repairs. He also owns an arcade out in Wichita, along with a guy that I know, Derek Sorrells, that's I think co-owner of that place. All right, almost, almost ready. We're getting to the final touches of cleaning everything up. So I apologize, a little delayed here. Move things away. I am missing something. Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. But it is not overly pressing at the moment. Okay. I think we're ready to turn things on. So let me get the camera moved back. Let me get my zip ties and put those away. This is my extra wire stuff. It's a little bit of a mess in here still. Way cleaner than it used to be. I tore this whole place apart just to be able to do. Let me sit this over here like it's an over the shoulder look of the arcade game. Do that. Maybe that'll be a good spot for it. And you'll be able to see me play it maybe. Once we get this back in the living space area, I can set this same setup up or something similar with multiple cameras. Maybe we can have Lisa and I play some NBA Jam, or maybe Cooper and I before bed or something one night. Okay, so next part of the process, I'm going to move an arcade, or I'm going to move a light I have in here out of the way so I don't break it. And I'll probably turn off the lights a little bit too, to help with us being able to see things. So give me 1 second here. Oh. So you'll see the computer screen, or you'll see the monitor kick on in just a second. There's the monitor. See some awesome Chinese characters. And we'll flip the switch for the actual board. There's the lovely single tune you want to definitely hear every time you boot up a Midway game. So we're booting up Mortal Kombat 2 right now. Let's let 2 boot up. And while 2 is booting up, I'm going to adjust the camera. And make sure that the CMOS battery is working here. I think it's going to die. I just had this on yesterday. And it's been giving me problems. Oh, coinage okay. It didn't give me problems. Should we do this? Is that better? The lighting kind of sucks on the game. If I do this, it's not bad. Maybe get the camera a little bit closer. All right, so we're going to swap to Ultimate MK3. That's NBA Jam based on the tone. I already know that. Quieter. We'll have to let the scratch rounds boot and then we'll hold start. I don't like switching it through really quickly like that. I don't want to damage any of the power. There's MK1. I play a sick Sonya on MK1. I challenge anybody that isn't a professional. Some All right, here's MK3. This is Ultimate MK3 Plus. You can see it in the upper right hand corner if the glare wasn't there. Here it is, Ultimate UMK3 Plus. This game has an additional 4 sets of ROMs on U17 or 117, 116, 115, and 114, which is normally where MK3's ROMs are sitting. Whenever you upgrade it to UMK3, they go to 113, 112, 111, and 110. You also switch out the revision ROMs, which is U63 and U54, and U2, which is the sound ROM. That's an 8 megabyte ROM. Everything else is a 4 megabyte ROM on that swap. And you can see everything's lighting up green. Everything's working great. This build of the game is designed to work with specifically with this security chip. Thanks to the developer, very cool. I can say I'm one of the very few that have this running on dedicated hardware. Um, I tell you what, the new control panel does stick up a little bit, and I'm not super keen on it. Um, this is the this has the MK3 opener as well as some of the MK Ultimate MK3 pieces to it, which I think is great that the developer put those back in. Um, so very cool. Let's get started. It's on free play. Here we go. So this is a different menu that you wouldn't see normally on an arcade version of UMK3. The volume's probably going to be a little loud, so I apologize if it's too loud. We're new class of combat. The screen is also different on UMK3 Plus. You can change that to the classic screen that you normally see, but we can see that we have Rain in here as well as some other characters that are normally here, Noob Saibot, things like that. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Scorpion. See, I suck, so I'm gonna be novice. That's added to, I believe in UMK3 Plus because of me sucking so bad. Here we go. I'm gonna just test some of the buttons. Here's the run button. It works great. It's locked. Fun fact on UMK3, they come here and to get over here on Scorpion, the audio gets cut out from the blood hitting the ground, but the developer of UMK3 Plus has taken care of that for us. Super nice that he catches those little types of details. Him and so Drew and Paul working to find out how to fix that bug from the original build of this game for 1.2. I don't know any finishers off the top of my head, but I do have this lovely board in front of me. I don't know how much they tweaked the difficulty on this game. I don't know any of the dialogue combos. There we go. I did something. Also, you can see that the timer is much longer. I can set that. So down, back, forward, high bump. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna run out of time. So normally you get about 3 seconds to do a fatality. The extended fatalities on, so it's about double that, maybe a little bit more than that. Oh, this is so close. Oh my gosh, he had like no health left. No health. Come on, get my butt kicked. It's funny. I'm trying to hit the low punch for smacking run. I'm not used to having that run button there, but it's there now. It works great. Drew, the guy who created UMK3 Plus, he streams on Thursday nights at 9:30 on YouTube. He just does like random pickup games with people that he knows on Fightcade. If you ever want to watch some really like high tier stream MK3, UMK3, uh, I can drop a link in the chat. Look at that combo that it's good. Oh my gosh. And what do we got here? Forward, up, high kicks. That's not gonna work. Down, up. Ah. Ah. Have a good night. See you. See ya. No way. Well, right. I also have the game set with the UMK3 Plus to have the computer do fatalities every single time, which is cool. Um, honestly, this control panel is sticking out a little too much than for my liking, which kind of sucks. It's not the end of the world, but it could fit a little better. So I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream right there. Um, it's getting a little late. It's 11 o'clock, and I do need to get to bed for a early morning tomorrow. So I do appreciate everybody that hung out with me tonight. To wait, there's an inner combat code. Are there combat codes for UMK3 Plus? I didn't know that. Are there more hidden characters? Oh, that's right. You can play as like Shao Kahn and um, other folks on the game list too. Let's try that. Select Melina, press and hold back and high kick. Back and high kick. So maybe we have to have two going here. So where's Melina? There's Melina. Press and hold. Select Melina, press and hold back and high kick. Didn't work. Didn't work. It's probably because I have to unlock them. So that's all good. Anyway, maybe it's also a different screen too. Um, have a great night, guys. Animated emotes can be disabled in settings. I like animated emotes. Bring them up. I like them. All right, you guys have a great night. We'll get back to some gaming streaming here very soon. Two hearts. See you, Limo. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Good night, everybody.